Chapter 229. Wang Hu, don't go overboard. On the street, the captain of the Horizon Wing battle team, Lung Chongkong, said coldly to the captain of the Tenacious Tiger battle team. Opposite him, Wang Hu said indifferently, "That supreme weapon must belong to my Tenacious Tiger battle team. There is no doubt about that." "That's impossible. That supreme artifact was clearly discovered and brought back by Lin Tian first. How can it be yours just because you say so?" "That's right. Today, I'll make it clear that I must take away that supreme weapon. Otherwise, I won't let this matter rest." Supreme weapons were too precious to them. One had to know that the fiendish Tiger Squad had worked hard in the ancient battlefield for dozens of years, yet they had only come across a few supreme weapons. "That means we'll have to fight," Lung Chongkong said coldly. "Come on." Wang Hu let out a low growl, and an extremely powerful Taoist rhyme erupted from his body. A huge pressure enveloped Lung Chongkong and the rest. "This is the perfected paradise realm." Lung Chongkong's expression changed slightly. Initially, his strength was about the same as Wang Hu's. They were both at the late-stage paradise realm. However, Wang Hu had broken through before him. No wonder he dared to be so unyielding today. "Lung Chongkong, our two battle teams have always been at odds with each other. I've been suppressing my anger for a long time now. Today, I'll settle everything with you." Wang Hu chuckled and threw a punch. The violent Taoist rhyme instantly locked onto Lung Chongkong. Meanwhile, Lung Chongkong unsheathed the longsword at his waist and instantly engaged Wang Hu in combat. The others also found their own opponents. A huge battle broke out on the street. Inside the restaurant, Chu Kuangren watched the battle between the two parties and said, "This Wang Hu is quite bold to attack a Taoist from the Horizon Wing sect." After all, the Horizon Wing sect was a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven sect. This is a matter between the younger generation. The upper echelons of the Black Heaven sect shouldn't interfere. Besides, the Black Heaven sect has so many affiliated forces. Why would they care about a Taoist from the Horizon Wing sect? Tian Fugui laughed. He was right. The Black Heaven sect had many affiliated forces, and if they had to manage every single Taoist from every single one of them, they would have been extremely busy. This was also the reason why Wang Hu dared to make a move. He was certain that the Black Heaven sect would not care about such a trivial matter. It was a pity. He did not expect the Black Heaven sect leader to be watching this battle, less than 200 meters away from him. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to do this even if he was given 100 guts. "Die!" Wang Hu roared with laughter and threw a punch. The punch was unusually domineering, and Lung Chongkong's expression was extremely solemn. He knew that he might not be able to withstand this punch, but sitting and waiting for death was no different from waiting for death. He fiercely slashed with his sword. "How can your sword chi block me?" Wang Hu shouted. However, the moment the sword chi and the fist force collided, Wang Hu's expression changed. A majestic and peerless power exploded, instantly tearing the fist force apart and sending him flying. "Boss, what's going on?" The faces of the fiendish Tiger battle squad changed drastically. They rushed to the front of Wang Hu and saw that there were streaks of fine and dense sword energy crisscrossing on his body, tearing out streaks of bloody marks. The inner armor that Wang Hu had used to save his life had long been shattered. He lay in the ruins, breathing weakly and barely alive. "Expert, let's go," Wang Hu said. The fiendish Tiger battle squad quickly guarded their surroundings as they led Wang Hu away. Meanwhile, the Horizon Wing squad came to Lung Chongkong's side. "That's amazing, leader." "That's right, I didn't expect you to defeat Wang Hu." Lung Chongkong, on the other hand, was at a loss. How could he not know his own level? Not to mention defeating Wang Hu, it would have been difficult for him to even protect himself with that sword attack of his just now. What exactly was going on? Could it be that someone was helping him in the dark? At that thought, Lung Chongkong cupped his fists and said, "I'm Lung Chongkong from the Horizon Wing sect. Thank you for your help, expert. Please show yourself. Come to the private room on the second floor of the restaurant." An indifferent voice rang in Lung Chongkong's ears. He understood tacitly and led his team members to a restaurant not far away. Inside the private room of the restaurant, Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. That Wang Hu is lucky to have a life-saving inner armor on him. Otherwise he would have died from that attack. He was the one who had secretly saved Lung Chongkong. After all, Wang Hu was his follower's follower. However, what surprised him was that Wang Hu was wearing a life-saving inner armor. Otherwise, his Taoist rhyme would have killed him several times over. Brother Chu, since you wish to meet the people from the Horizon Wing sect, I shall not disturb you any longer. Take care, Boss Qian. Qian Fugui cupped his hands and smiled before he left. Not long after, Lung Chongkong and the others entered the private room. They were stunned to see Chu Kuangren and Qian Fugui. Both of their faces were shrouded in a faint layer of spiritual light, making it impossible to see their faces. However, Lung Chongkong did not mind that they were hiding their faces. He stepped forward and said, "Thank you for your help just now." "Yes, have a seat." Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. "Thank you. You're welcome. I only saved you because I'm from the Black Heaven sect, which is somewhat related to you guys." Lung Chongkong and the others were shocked. They did not expect Chu Kuangren to have such a background. "Oh, a fellow Taoist from the Black Heaven sect. Forgive me for my rudeness. May I know your name?" Lung Chongkong asked. "My surname is Chu." Chu Kuangren did not reveal his surname. Lung Chongkong did not mind, and the few of them began to chat. "By the way, Brother Lung, I have a question. Brother Lung, since you're so talented, didn't the Horizon Wing sect arrange a protector for you?" Chu Kuangren was puzzled. After all, it was an honorable orthodoxy, so they should at least have a protector for their Taoist. At the mention of that, Lung Chongkong's eyes dimmed. "Some time ago, I encountered a high-level tormented soul in the ancient battlefield. My protector sacrificed himself to protect me." "I see. I'm sorry. It's all right. I've come to the ancient battlefield this time to explore. Brother Lung, you've been in the ancient battlefield for so many years, so you should be very familiar with the surrounding area. I wonder if you can give me some pointers?" Chu Kuangren said. "Haha, that's easy. We're planning to go in there tomorrow anyway. If you don't mind, how about we go together? Then I shall accept your invitation." The next day, Chu Kuangren got up and started the lottery. "Congratulations, host. You've obtained the legendary technique, Tathagata Rebirth Mantra." Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. "I didn't expect it to be a legendary technique. But why does the name sound like a Buddhist technique?" He then extracted it. Suddenly, a large amount of enlightenment surged into his mind. After the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique, the spring breeze healing technique, and the sword chi transformation technique, he had mastered another emperor technique, the Tathagata Rebirth Mantra. Moreover, since it was obtained from the lottery, he did not need to spend any time to understand it. The mysteries of this technique were already fully understood the moment he extracted it. Just as Chu Kuangren expected, this was indeed a Buddhist emperor technique. This emperor technique was very powerful, but Chu Kuangren did not have the opportunity to use it, so he did not bother with it anymore. He went out and brought Lan Yu to the city gate of Sunsoil City. This was the place where he had agreed to meet Lung Chongkong and the others. Chapter 230. I can't believe Chu Kuangren is in Sunsoil City. If he's here, we might stand a chance against the tormented army. The Horizon Wing sect master's eyes lit up as he said. As the saying went, those with great reputations were not just for show. With Chu Kuangren's reputation, there was no doubt about his strength. If they could get his help, things would be much easier for them. Sect Master, Brother Chu is now deep in the ancient battlefield. He even said that he wants to explore the core area. I don't think he'll be able to make it here anytime soon. Lung Chongkong said helplessly. At that, the Horizon Wing sect master's expression changed slightly. He then sighed and said, "This is fate." It was not easy to see hope, but now it was gone. Just as they were talking, the tormented army that had lost their leader did not stop and charged towards Sunsoil City. Although they did not have the support of a military formation, their overwhelming resentment was still extremely terrifying. Countless tormented souls danced in the air as their resentment turned into a black mist that covered the sky, causing the entire Sunsoil City to darken. When the tormented army was less than 10 kilometers away from Sunsoil City, their terrifying resentment aura enveloped everyone. Among the crowd, A Horizon Wing sect disciple held a longsword with a pale face. His forehead was drenched in sweat, and his hand that held the sword was trembling slightly. When the tormented army arrived before them, everyone could see the ferocious faces of the tormented army. Kill! A disciple who was the leader yelled and took the lead to charge. Behind him, the Horizon Wing sect disciples roared as if they were cheering themselves on and charged towards the tormented army. Kill! The Horizon Wing sect master and the other experts rushed out too. Surges of Taoist rhymes erupted and collided with the tormented army with spiritual power. Without the support of a military formation, the tormented army could no longer gather all their strength. Hence, they fought on their own, which greatly reduced their combat strength. However, a million tormented army was not to be underestimated. The moment they clashed, the Horizon Wing sect began to suffer casualties, and the number of casualties was increasing rapidly. Compared to a million tormented army, the Horizon Wing sect had too few people. However, no one retreated. If they retreated, their homes would be turned into hell. Tens of millions of civilians would die. Kill! You evil spirits, come at me! The cultivators of the Horizon Wing sect roared as they brandished their weapons and circulated their spiritual energy, using their flesh and blood to erect a barrier for the commoners. Some of the fleeing cultivators stopped and saw this scene. This scene had a great impact on them. They couldn't understand why the people of the Horizon Wing sect would send themselves to their deaths when it was clearly a battle that they were bound to lose. When they died, the tens of millions of civilians would die as well. Their deaths were practically worthless. Damn it, I think I'm a coward. Me too. Damn it, it's just a bunch of tormented souls. Let's go back and fight it out with them. Our Long Dragon troop will never be deserters. Go back. Some cultivators were affected by the tragedy of the Horizon Wing sect, and their hearts surged with hot blood. They gritted their teeth and actually returned to Sunsoil City. There were also many people who scoffed at these cultivators. Humph, he's just courting death. That's right. The tormented army is too strong. How can we possibly hold them off with just these few people? They're just sending themselves to their deaths. In Sunsoil City, the people of the Horizon Wing sect were fighting the tormented souls. In just a short period of time, more than a third of the Horizon Wing sect had died. Even with the help of other cultivators, they could not make up for their loss. Seeing this, the Horizon Wing sect master was deeply saddened. Even if we've destroyed the army's formation, it's still difficult to hold off these millions of tormented souls. Is this all we can do? The heavens are unfair. Can we really bear to see these people suffer? He let out a long howl and continued to fight with his sword. Among the crowd, Wu Yi formed a seal with his hands and channeled the spiritual energy around him. Buddhist light manifested, and with each Buddhist light, a tormented soul would perish. He was very powerful, and the Buddhist light was very lethal against the tormented souls. However, he was only one person. No matter how powerful the Buddhist light was, it could not compare to the millions of tormented souls. It was just a drop in the bucket. Lung Chongkong took out a new longsword and fought the tormented souls while the people of the Horizon Wing troop surrounded him. The tormented souls around him surged in like a tidal wave. Soon, everyone had reached their limit. Just as the troop was about to be annihilated, a sudden rumble came from the sky as if something was falling from the sky. A stream of light suddenly landed in front of Lung Chongkong and the others. An overbearing sword-based Taoist rhyme erupted, and all the tormented souls within a radius of 100 feet were turned into ashes by this Taoist rhyme. Only then did Lung Chongkong and the others see clearly that it was a sword that had landed in front of them. It was an incomparably beautiful and exquisite sword. The Horizon Wing sect master, Wu Yi, and the others were overjoyed. They did not recognize this sword. However, they were extremely familiar with this sword-based Taoist rhyme, because the sword chi that Lung Chongkong had summoned earlier contained this kind of sword chi. He's here. That person is finally here. Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing sect master murmured with hope in their eyes. A peerless figure dressed in white descended from the sky. He stepped on the hilt of the sword, and his robes fluttered in the wind. Then a terrifying and majestic sword chi erupted from his seemingly frail body, sweeping in all directions like an endless gale. All the tormented souls that came into contact with the sword chi were instantly vaporized. At that moment, everyone's attention was attracted by that white robe. Their gazes landed on that person, and everyone who saw him was dazed. Even the tormented souls that filled the sky were stunned by that person's aura. That person was none other than Chu Kuangren. At that moment, a dazzling white light bloomed in the sky. Lan Yu, who was clad in gorgeous silver-white armor, had her wings spread out. She held the scepter of light in her hand and activated the holy radiant physique transformation to kill the tormented souls. Surges of light-based Taoist rhyme gushed out from her body and turned into a dazzling white light. All the tormented souls that came into contact with this white light were annihilated. Young Emperor Lan Yu. Everyone recognized Lan Yu. Rumor had it that young Emperor Lan Yu and Chu Kuangren were inseparable. Since Chu Kuangren was there, naturally, she would be there as well. Greetings, Sect Leader, Horizon Wing Sect Master. The Horizon Wing Sect Master, who was battling the tormented souls, yelled. The Horizon Wing Sect was a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven Sect. Since Chu Kuangren was the Black Heaven Sect leader, he was naturally the Horizon Wing Sect leader as well. Chu Kuangren looked around. Most of them were from the Horizon Wing Sect. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath and could roughly guess what had happened. Everyone, I'm sorry that I'm late. He looked at the tormented souls that filled the sky, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. The sword-based Taoist rhyme on his body became even more domineering. The tormented souls that were present seemed to have sensed the threat that Chu Kuangren posed to them. They roared at him and charged towards him. The descendant self-sword beneath Chu Kuangren's feet trembled slightly before it rose into the air and landed in his hand. With a gentle wave of his hand, a purple sword ray erupted and spread out like a tidal wave. The tormented souls that were caught in the sword ray were easily annihilated. With a single slash, tens of thousands of tormented souls were reduced to nothingness. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. They had been fighting for so long and suffered heavy casualties. However, the combined number of tormented souls that they had killed was not as terrifying as Chu Kuangren's single slash. Is this the strength that can kill a sage? The Horizon Wing Sect Master murmured. Chapter 231. A single slash had killed tens of thousands of tormented souls. The combat strength that Chu Kuangren displayed shocked everyone at the scene. The tormented souls also sensed that Chu Kuangren was not to be trifled with, so they no longer targeted him. Instead, they went after the others instead. The war continued. Chu Kuangren frowned slightly. Although he was not afraid of the million tormented souls, it was not an easy task to kill them all. Even if it was tens of thousands of slashes, it would still take dozens of slashes. Moreover, these tormented souls would not gather together for him to kill. By the time he was done with the tormented souls, most of the people from the Horizon Wing Sect would be dead. This was something that he did not want to see happen. Since I'm here, I won't let the casualties increase. I wonder if a million tormented souls can withstand my Buddha's light. Chu Kuangren's eyes shot out a ray of golden light. He put away the Kuan-Wu sword and sat cross-legged in the void. An incomparably mysterious Taoist rhyme suddenly spread. This Taoist rhyme was sensed by Wu Yi, who was not far away. His face was filled with shock and uncertainty. Taoist rhymes emanated from Chu Kuangren's body. Dazzling golden light radiated from his body, bringing with it a vast, bright, and merciful Buddhist will. Tathagata Rebirth Mantra. Chu Kuangren had a compassionate look on his face as the Buddhist light on his body reached its peak. The Buddhist light that was as vast as the ocean spread out. One by one, the tormented souls were affected by the Buddhist light. They shrieked in agony as the resentment on their bodies melted like snow melting under the scorching sun. It was the legendary cultivation technique that he had obtained from the lottery, the Tathagata Rebirth Mantra. Wu Yi was stunned by the scene in front of him. Buddha light. Why is there Buddhist light on his body? Buddhist light was a unique characteristic of Buddhist cultivators. Ordinary cultivators did not have it. Wasn't Chu Kuangren a sword cultivator? How could there be Buddhist light? And a Buddhist light of this scale? Heavens! Even the abbot can't compare. Wu Yi said in shock. If his Buddhist light was a small stream, Then what Chu Kuangren had unleashed was a boundless ocean. The two could not be compared at all. But then, a scene that subverted leafless worldview happened. Chu Kuangren's majestic Buddhist light manifested, and gradually formed an ancient golden Buddha above his head. This golden Buddha was thousands of feet tall. It put its palms together, and its body erupted with a brilliant Buddhist light that tore through the clouds of resentment. How is this possible? Wu Yi was dumbfounded. He didn't dare to imagine the scene in front of him. Oh my God, did he just see Buddha? The golden Buddha appeared in the world, and a vast golden Buddha light spread out like the sea. His lips opened and closed as if he was chanting. In an instant, golden lotuses sprang up from the ground, and mysterious Sanskrit sounds reverberated in the sky. Everyone's soul seemed to have been purified, and there was peace. The millions of tormented souls shrieked incessantly. The sound of Sanskrit and the light of Buddha intertwined and continuously disintegrated their resentment and baleful aura, erasing the root of their existence. Is he a living Buddha? Wu Yi looked at Chu Kuangren, who was sitting in the air with his legs crossed and a compassionate look on his face. It wasn't just him. This giant Buddha could be seen from thousands of miles away. Countless people knelt on the ground and kowtowed when they saw it. An incredibly surging Buddhist Taoist rhyme spread out, and even the top-notch cultivators in the entire firmament star felt it. This Taoist rhyme is so sacred and peaceful. Is it a Buddha? It even contains an emperor's aura. Has an emperor appeared in the Buddhist orthodoxy? Could it be that a Buddhist emperor has appeared? Impossible. Emperors have been missing for so long, and the era of great battles has just begun. How can an emperor appear so soon? This direction is the ancient battlefield. The sages were shocked. Surges of spiritual thoughts continuously surged towards the ancient battlefield. When they saw the giant Buddha that was thousands of feet tall and emanated a sacred and ancient vibe, they were all shocked. If not for the fact that the giant Buddha was not a physical entity, they would have suspected that they were looking at the Buddha himself. It was too shocking. However, they were dumbfounded when they saw Chu Kuangren sitting cross-legged under the giant Buddha statue with the same Buddhist light emanating from his body. What's going on? Is it Chu Kuangren? This giant Buddha is condensed from the Buddhist light on his body. Oh my God, he's the one who created this giant Buddha. What's going on? Isn't Chu Kuangren a sword cultivator from the Black Heaven sect? How did he get involved with the Buddhist orthodoxy? Even the Thunder Temple's virtuous monks don't have a Buddhist light as strong as his. How did he do it? Could he be the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Reincarnation of a living Buddha? A Buddhist cultivator? The sages felt that this joke had gone too far. Chu Kuangren had killed sages and young emperors. Every time he killed, he would turn the world upside down. Where did he look like a merciful Buddhist cultivator? However, the truth was right in front of them. The Buddhist light on Chu Kuangren's body could not be faked. I knew it. Now that Chu Kuangren has entered the realm, the world will not be peaceful anymore. It's only been a few days, and he's already causing trouble again. One of the sages could not help but lament. The other sages agreed with him too. Why, do you guys have something to say? Please take a closer look. This little guy is now purifying the tormented souls and saving the world. This is a great merit, so why are you guys calling it a troublemaker? At that moment, the Black Heaven sect's sage's spiritual thought said. Only then did the sages notice the existence of the million tormented souls. This Buddhist light is too dazzling. I didn't even notice these tormented souls. Where did they come from? Looks like Chu Kuangren is about to be dealt with. The sages were paying close attention. Under the purification of the Buddhist light, the million tormented souls' resentment and ferocious chi dissipated, and their ferocious faces gradually became peaceful. They bowed to Chu Kuangren as if thanking him for freeing them from their endless pain. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Rest in peace, everyone. Chu Kuangren put his palms together, and a compassionate look appeared on his already handsome face, as he said to the countless tormented souls. The million tormented army then turned into light spots and disappeared. The scene before them shocked everyone at the scene. They looked at Chu Kuangren with reverence in their eyes. At this moment, Even if Chu Kuangren said that he was a living Buddha, everyone would probably believe him. After purifying the tormented souls, Chu Kuangren put down his hands. The boundless Buddhist light gradually returned to his body, and his expression returned to normal. He saw that after the tormented souls disappeared, a cloud of strange black chi suddenly appeared in the void. The aura of this black chi was very similar to ferocious chi, but it was many times purer. It did not dissipate even after being purified by the Buddhist light. This thing is a little strange. Chu Kuangren reached out his hand and used his spiritual power to form a giant hand to grab it. He then carefully sensed it for a while. Suddenly, he remembered that the Lu nation ruler once mentioned that this tormented army was formed by the tranquil nation ruler stealing the source of ferocious chi from the forbidden area. Could this be the source of ferocious chi? Chu Kuangren thought for a while before he took out a box and placed it inside. He then threw it into his yin and yang ring. He then looked at the cultivators around him, and a mysterious Taoist rhyme emanated from his body like a spring breeze. Everyone felt the fatigue on their bodies disappear, and the injuries on their bodies quickly healed. The crowd was shocked, and they could not help but be impressed by Chu Kuangren's means. Chapter 232. Brother Chu, I know I may not be able to dissuade you, but I still have to say that the ancient battlefield's core area is extremely terrifying. Even sages are afraid of it. Brother Chu, please consider this carefully. I understand. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Then he looked at the sword in Lung Changkong's hand and smiled. Brother Lung, can I have your sword for a moment? Lung Changkong was a little confused, but he still took out his sword. Chu Kuangren took the sword and gently swiped his finger across the blade. A surge of Taoist rhyme and sword chi was then infused into the sword. This sword contains a surge of my sword chi. Brother Lung, if you encounter any danger on your way back, you can activate it. Chu Kuangren smiled. Thank you, Lung Changkong said solemnly. Both parties parted ways. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu deeper into the inner zone. With his treasure locating skill, Chu Kuangren had found many treasures in the ancient battlefield. Although most of them were not worth his attention, he could still bring them back to the Black Heaven sect and hand them over to Elder Ruyan. These could all be used as daily expenses for the sect's operations. A broken sage weapon. This is not bad. I can probably sell it for about 1,000,000 top-tier soul stones. Chu Kuangren said as he held a broken armor in his hand. He had just taken that armor from a skeleton. That skeleton had been dead for many years, but its bones were still extremely tough and had a metallic luster. It was obvious that it was extraordinary when it was alive. It was at least an Honorable Supreme's cultivation level. Even an Honorable Supreme died here. It was obvious that the ancient battlefield had gone through many cruel battles over the years. What about the inner zone, let alone the core area? Chu Kuangren put the broken armor into his yin and yang ring, and was about to leave. However, a surge of violent Taoist rhyme suddenly erupted and attacked him from afar. Chu Kuangren frowned. Before he could do anything, Lan Yu had already dispersed the Taoist rhyme. She looked coldly into the void not far away. Come out. A ripple appeared in the void. A man in black leather armor with a knife scar on his face looked at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu and chuckled. Not bad. Killing and robbing. Chu Kuangren revealed a look of interest. It was not uncommon for people to rob others of their treasures in the cultivation world, but it was Chu Kuangren's first time encountering such an incident. Kid, hand over the damaged saint artifact in your hand, and I can consider sparing your life. Otherwise, what would the consequences be? Without waiting for the scar-faced man to finish, Chu Kuangren spoke first. Do you want me to die without a complete corpse, or do you want me to live a life worse than death? Scarface raised an eyebrow. Looking at the calm Chu Kuangren, he could not help but feel a little nervous. This kid seemed to be a little strange. He glanced at Lan Yu. The young lady had easily shattered his attack just now, so her strength should not be underestimated. There was also Chu Kuangren, whose strength was still unknown. If they really fought, he probably wouldn't be able to get away with it. After thinking carefully and weighing the pros and cons, Scarface snorted coldly, and actually didn't say a word before turning around and flashing towards the distance. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were stunned. Leaving just like that? What's going on? He's leaving just like that? Chu Kuangren was puzzled. This didn't seem to be what he had expected. Lan Yu also shook his head. I don't know. Forget it, let's ignore him. Let's go. Scarface ran all the way and arrived at a team. There were quite a number of people in this team, and each of them had a fierce aura about them. Obviously, they were not simple characters. If there were people from Sunsoil City here, they would definitely recognize them. This team was one of the most elite teams in Sunsoil City, and its captain was a top-notch sword cultivator ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. This team was called the Yun Xiao Battle Team. 7th bro, what happened to you? Seeing Scarface rushing back in a hurry, a spear-wielding cultivator asked. Scarface said, 4th brother, call a few good men and follow me to find 2 people. They have a damaged saint artifact. Ha! Damaged saint artifact? 4th brother's eyes lit up. A damaged saint artifact, that was a good thing. How strong are these 2 people? I don't know. Scarface shook his head. 4th brother almost vomited blood when he heard that. He looked at Scarface with a "are you kidding me?" expression. If you don't know how strong they are, why did you come back? Scarface continued. Although we haven't officially fought, I feel that these 2 people are very strong. I'm no match for them alone, so I came back to find you guys, hoping that we can go and snatch the item together. 4th brother pondered when he heard Scarface's words. They had been in the ancient battlefield for many years, living on the edge of a knife's edge. They had long developed a keen sense for danger. Since Scarface said so, it was very likely that these 2 people were not to be trifled with. However, a damaged saint artifact was indeed very tempting. 7th brother, you're back. Let's continue. At that moment, the leader of the Yun Xiao battle team, the 9th rank sword cultivator in the 100-sword spectrum, Li Xiaoyan, walked over and said. Scarface and 4th brother looked at each other when they heard his words. They told him about the damaged saint artifact. Li Yunxiao frowned and said, forget it, it's just a damaged saint artifact. Let's complete the client's request first. He glanced at a young man behind him. The young man was sitting on a rock with his eyes closed. Although he did not look powerful, everyone looked at him with fear. Even Li Yunxiao was very afraid of him. This was because he was one of the top sky prides in the world, the young emperor of the Shang clan from the Scarlet Phoenix domain. Shanghan. Shanghan slowly opened his eyes and said to Li Yunxiao and the others who were not far away, can we continue our journey now? Of course. Li Yunxiao nodded and said, but we've been searching for 7 days. Young emperor, are you sure this is the direction? I can't be wrong. Shanghan took out an ancient bronze sword. I can clearly feel that the resonance between the Lu clan's ancient sword and the ancient city of the Lu kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. If we continue in this direction, we'll definitely find the ancient city. Hearing this, everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. The Lu kingdom was a dynasty that existed tens of thousands of years ago. It was said that its heritage and strength were comparable to the royal Azure dynasty of today. However, such a kingdom was destroyed in a great war tens of thousands of years ago, and the dynasty's capital was directly buried in the sandstorm. For many years, people had been searching for the ancient city of the Lu kingdom, hoping to find the rumored treasure that was even more terrifying than the sage orthodoxies. It was just that no one had been able to do it. However, this time they might succeed. Thinking of this, even an honorable supreme like Li Yunxiao felt extremely excited, let alone the other people in the battle team. If I can get my hands on the Lu kingdom's treasure, then I won't have to worry about anything for the rest of my life. Haha, then I'll leave this place. Tisk tsk the Lu kingdom's treasure. Everything else aside, there should be plenty of supreme weapons, supreme pills, and other resources. No one has been able to find it for so many years, but in the end it was still found by us, the Yun Xiao battle team. Shanghan glanced at the people in the battle team and curled his lips. These people were just tools for him to find the treasure. They still wanted to share the treasure with him? What a joke. As long as I get my hands on that thing in the Lu kingdom, who among the younger generation can stand shoulder to shoulder with me? Even if it's Chu Kuangren, I can still fight him. Chapter 233. At the thought of Chu Kuangren, a cold light flashed across Shang Han's eyes. For years ago, when he first came to the Azure Dragon domain, he wanted to use Princess Linglong's mysterious body to break through to the Battle Monarch realm. However, they did not expect Chu Kuangren to be one step ahead of them. After that, he was defeated by Chu Kuangren in front of everyone in the Royal Azure Palace. That incident had always been a knot in his heart, and it had never been resolved until today. As the era of great battles began, Shang Han did not dare to slack off for the past 4 years. He had been cultivating diligently, seizing the emperor's essence, protecting his position as the young emperor, comprehending the emperor's essence, and improving his cultivation by leaps and bounds, coupled with some other opportunities. His strength was definitely among the best among the young emperors. However, he was not happy at all. This was because Chu Kuangren, whom he regarded as his mortal enemy, had achieved far more in the past 4 years than he and the world could ever have imagined. Killing 100,000 demonic cultivators, sparring with a sage, gaining the recognition of the godly phoenix as its master, becoming the Black Heaven sect leader, killing a sage. Any one of these items would be enough to defeat a so-called young emperor like him. The little bit of success he'd obtained was simply like the light of a firefly in front of the bright moon. Insignificant. Chu Kuangren, just you wait. When I get my hands on that item from the Lu Kingdom, I'll definitely defeat you once and for all. Chu Kuangren sneezed. Young master, it can't be you've caught a cold? Lan Yu asked out of concern. Maybe it's one of my enemies cursing me behind my back. Chu Kuangren said nonchalantly. Let's continue. I can sense that there's a huge pile of treasures about 500 kilometers away from here. Chu Kuangren said in amazement. Although there were many treasures and opportunities in the ancient battlefield, it was rare to see so many treasures piled up in one place. Could it be that he had stumbled upon a treasure? Very soon, he and Lan Yu arrived at the place where the treasures were piled up. However, in front of them was a sand dune. Chu Kuangren scanned the area with his spiritual thoughts, but he still couldn't find anything. However, Chu Kuangren's treasure locating skills' sensitive response to treasures told him that the pile of treasures was right here on this sand dune. Could there be some kind of barrier? Chu Kuangren muttered. This was a blind spot in his knowledge. He knew nothing about spirit formations and the like. He couldn't possibly draw the lottery right now and become a Grandmaster Formation Master, right? Besides, he had already used up all the lucky draw chances for today. A treasure mountain is right in front of me. Do you want me to return empty-handed? No way, no way, no way, right? At this moment, ripples suddenly appeared in the void of space. A majestic ancient city suddenly appeared in front of Chu Kuangren, and Lan Yu like a mirage. What is this? Lan Yu was startled. Lan Yu, we might have really dug up a treasure this time. Chu Kuangren laughed out loud. Let's go. He quickly brought Lan Yu and the other two towards the ancient city. When Chu Kuangren arrived at the ancient city gate, he saw the tattered name of the city hanging high above. Lucheng, he looked pensive. I have some impression of it. It seems to be the capital of a country called the Lu Kingdom a long time ago. Chu Kuangren had read all sorts of books and biographies. Among them, there were some records about the Lu Kingdom. Rumor has it that the ancient city of the Lu Kingdom was mysteriously destroyed after a great war. Countless people have been searching for this ancient city for many years, but I didn't expect to find it here today. Chu Kuangren laughed. Sure enough, the heavenly Tao would favor a handsome person like him. The two entered the ancient city. Inside the ancient city, there were signs of destruction everywhere. Skeletons were scattered on the ground, turning into dust and dissipating at the slightest touch. Even the skeletons of honorables could not withstand the erosion of time. What was the cause of that great war that destroyed an entire country? Could it be the Sage War that the Eternal Sage King mentioned? Lan Yu was puzzled. I don't think so. The Sage War that the Eternal Sage King mentioned happened 50,000 years ago, and the Lu Kingdom's destruction happened more than 30,000 years ago. The timing doesn't match up. There must be another reason. Chu Kuangren shook his head. However, these were not the reasons that Chu Kuangren wanted to explore. What he wanted the most at the moment was the Lu Kingdom's treasures. 30 miles ahead, there are sage weapons, supreme weapons. According to the feedback from the treasure locating skill, Chu Kuangren soon arrived at the Lu Kingdom's palace. The palace was huge. Although it was dilapidated, its former glory could still be vaguely seen. It was not any worse than the royal Azure dynasty's palace. He arrived at the palace's treasury. He pushed open the door. An aura that had been sealed for a long time blew over. It was full of dust. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and a gust of wind swept away the dust around. Suddenly, after tens of thousands of years, countless treasures once again bloomed with waves of treasure light, illuminating the surroundings. Treasured swords, armors, medicinal pills, peerless materials, spiritual marrows, and even jade scrolls that recorded various cultivation techniques. Countless treasures were displayed in front of Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. So many. Lan Yu's mouth was slightly agape. She could not help but be shocked when she saw the entire treasury in front of her. Lan Yu, let's do it. Chu Kuangren smiled. The two walked into the treasury and began to collect the treasures into their yin and yang rings. There were just too many treasures here. It took the two of them more than an hour to finish collecting. Moreover, that was only the collection. They had not sorted them out yet. Otherwise, they would have taken much more time. Young master, our harvest this time is just too great. I have 6 or 7 sacred artifacts here. There are even more sovereign artifacts. Not to mention, there are also some other rare treasures. Lan Yu's eyes lit up as she said, "Not bad. With this batch of treasures, the Black Heaven Sect's heritage can be doubled again." Chu Kuangren was also satisfied. With so many treasures, the Lu Kingdom must have been very powerful in the past. Unfortunately, it was destroyed in the end, Lan Yu lamented. There was nothing in this world that lasted forever. Even a powerful kingdom like the Lu Kingdom could not escape the fate of extinction. Master, do you think there will be others who will enter the ancient Lu Kingdom in the future besides us? Lan Yu suddenly thought curiously. I don't know. Even if there is, it should be many years later, Chu Kuangren said. Then, as if he thought of something, a playful smile appeared on his face as he came to a pillar in the treasury. He condensed his sword fingers and beams of sword chi shot out. He was actually carving words on the pillar. Chu Kuangren was here. Chu Kuangren looked at the 7 big words on the pillar with satisfaction. Beside him, Lan Yu shook her head and smiled. Master can be so frivolous at times. Let's go. There's still one more thing in this palace. Chu Kuangren smirked. What is it? A Boundary Emperor weapon. Lan Yu could not help but be surprised when she heard that. There's another Boundary Emperor weapon in this palace? That's right. Through my treasure locating skill, there is indeed a Boundary Emperor weapon in this palace. Let's go. Chu Kuangren was quite excited. One must know that a quasi-emperor weapon was far too valuable. Even the entire treasury would barely be able to compare to it. Chapter 234. Chu Kuangren sensed that the Boundary Emperor weapon was in the palace's main hall. However, as soon as they entered the main hall, both of them felt that something was amiss. There was an extremely terrifying ferocious chi in the air. What a terrifying ferocious chi! Lan Yu could not help but be surprised. Then both of them saw a skeleton wearing a golden royal robe standing on top of the palace. The surface of the skeleton's body was filled with rays of golden light. Countless runes surrounded it, and were connected to the halberd in his hand. This skeleton had an indescribable sense of grandeur. Apart from that, the palace was also engraved with countless runes. The terrifying ferocious chi in the palace seemed to be trapped here because of these runes, unable to spread to other places. It seems that this person is the ruler of the Lu Kingdom. But why would he have these runes around him? Lan Yu said in surprise. As if sensing that someone had entered, the corpse of the Lu Kingdom's ruler emitted a ray of golden light and transformed into a figure. It was a stalwart man dressed in a royal robe. His face was extremely dignified, and it looked like the Lu Kingdom's ruler when he was alive. Newcomer. I am the ruler of the Lu Kingdom, the stalwart man said. Lan Yu put on a defensive stance. Chu Kuangren smiled. It's just an image. I'm sure you've noticed the abnormality in this palace. The culprit of all this is the tranquil kingdom, a vassal kingdom of the Lu Kingdom. The ruler of the Tranquil Kingdom rebelled. In order to overthrow the Lu Kingdom, he did not hesitate to enter the forbidden area and steal the source of ferocious qi. He sacrificed millions of soldiers in the kingdom to create an invincible tormented army. However, the tormented army's resentment was too strong and could not be controlled by the ruler of the Tranquil Kingdom. Instead, the Tranquil Kingdom suffered and was destroyed. Following that, the tormented army invaded the Lu Kingdom. Within a day, the 13 cities of the Lu Kingdom were breached, and the tormented army headed straight for the capital. I know that the Lu Kingdom has fallen. In order to prevent the tormented army from wreaking havoc, I used the Boundary Emperor weapon in my hand, the Heaven's Halberd, as a base and used myself as bait to set up the Spirit Sealing Formation to seal the tormented army under the palace. Then, I activated the Lu Kingdom's formation and hid in the void. Newcomer, for the sake of the world and your own safety, do not use the Heaven's Halberd. Leave quickly. Remember. After explaining what had happened, the Lord of the Lu Kingdom disappeared. This was just a video left behind by the Lord of Lu Kingdom. It will only be triggered when someone enters the palace. I see. After listening to Lugua's past, the two of them had their doubts answered. So this was how the Lu Kingdom disappeared. The Forbidden Area, the source of the ominous aura. It should be the core area of the ancient battlefield, which is also the place where the Holy War took place. Back then, the Lu Kingdom had yet to be shrouded in an auspicious aura. The Yin Kingdom wanted to overthrow the rule of the Lu Kingdom, so they went to the Forbidden Land to retrieve the so-called source of an auspicious aura. They used some kind of method to sacrifice millions of soldiers and transform them into tormented souls. However, they didn't expect that these millions of tormented souls would go out of control and lead to the destruction of the Yin Kingdom and the Lu Kingdom. Now the tormented souls are right under our feet. The two of them looked at the ground. Countless runes were engraved on it, flowing with mysterious Taoist rhymes that connected with the long halberd in the hands of the Lu Kingdom's lord. Young master, what should we do now? Let's go. Chu Kuangren said. 1,000,000 tormented souls are no small matter. Moreover, they've been suppressed for so long, so one can only imagine how strong their resentment is. Once it erupts, Sunsoil City and the people nearby will suffer. Although it was a pity to give up on a Boundary Emperor weapon, it was a worthwhile trip to obtain the entire Lu Kingdom's treasure vault. Besides, he already had an Emperor weapon, the Sacred Emerald Sword Case, and with the potential of the Descendant Self-Sword, it was only a matter of time before it grew into an Emperor weapon. There was no need to bring disaster to countless people just for a Boundary Emperor weapon. The two of them left the Lu Kingdom's ancient city. When they came out, they could no longer see the ancient city. It seems that the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom has existed for too long, so it would occasionally fail, revealing the Lu Kingdom. We just happened to bump into it just now. Chu Kuangren smiled as he looked at the sand dune in front of him. Looks like we're in luck. Lan Yu found it a little unbelievable that they could encounter such a low probability. Their luck was more than just in luck. Well, it can't be helped since I have a halo. The two of them turned around and left the sand dune. Although he had obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasures, Chu Kuangren was still extremely curious about the ancient battlefield's core area. He still wanted to take a look. Not long after they left, a group of people arrived near the ancient city of the Lu Kingdom. These people were the Cloud Sky Troop and Shang Han, who had come to search for the Lu Kingdom's treasures. The resonance of the ancient Lu sword has reached its peak. It looks like the ancient Lu Kingdom is here, Shang Han said as he held the slightly trembling ancient Lu sword in his hand. He looked around. There is an ancient city here? What kind of joke is this? This place is completely empty. How can there be an ancient city? Could there be a mistake? Exactly. Shang Han said faintly. Rumor has it that Lu City has a space formation that can form a barrier and hide in the void. Although we can't see it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Then how do we find him? Every time the barrier is formed, only the Lu family's ancient sword, which is owned by the royal family of the Lu Kingdom, can open it. Get out of the way. Shang Han tossed the ancient bronze sword in his hand into the air, and injected spiritual power into it. The ancient sword shone brightly, causing ripples to appear in the void. It works. Great. Everyone was overjoyed. Buzz. At that moment, a saber gleam with a terrifying murderous aura swept over from not far away. Li Xiaoyan's expression changed slightly, and he quickly blocked it. He slashed out with his sword, and the sword gleam and the saber gleam collided. There was a loud explosion, and the void trembled. Not far away, a tormented spirit holding a long saber suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and a surging murderous aura shot into the sky. Li Xiaoyan's expression instantly turned serious. That's one of the Inner Zone's 10 Furies, the saber wielder. The expressions of the rest of the Yun Xiao battle squad changed drastically. One of the 10 Furies, the saber wielder. This is an honorable supreme level tormented spirit. How unlucky we are to encounter it at this time. Quick, prepare for battle. Just as everyone was preparing to deal with the saber wielder, a series of roars suddenly came from all directions. Tormented spirits of all shapes and sizes surged from all directions, and a violent murderous aura filled the entire area. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. So many tormented spirits. Damn it. Shang Han's expression turned gloomy as well. He said to Li Xiaoyan, I still need some time to open the barrier. You guys must hold on for me. Otherwise, everything will be in vain. Got it. Li Xiaoyan gritted his teeth and said. Kill. A fierce battle broke out. Li Xiaoyan was ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. He was extremely powerful and was an honorable supreme. He personally blocked the saber wielder. The rest of the tormented spirits were left to the others. The battle was incomparably fierce, and there were casualties in the Yun Xiao battle squad as soon as they clashed. All sorts of Taoist rhymes flashed in the void. Spiritual power and murderous aura intertwined and collided with each other. The commotion was so huge that it shook the heavens and the earth. While the rest of the team was entangled with the tormented spirits, Shang Han activated the Lu clan's ancient sword and attacked the barrier. Finally, a crack appeared. The magnificent ancient Lu kingdom finally appeared in front of everyone. Let's go. Chapter 235. Let's go. Let's go into the ancient city. Shang Han was the first to rush into the ancient city barrier. The rest of the team followed closely behind. After Li Xiaoyan and the others rushed into the barrier, the crack in the barrier slowly disappeared. The tormented souls lingered in place for a while before leaving. Inside the ancient city barrier, Li Xiaoyan and the others breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect to encounter the saber wielder. It was too thrilling. Indeed. Let's count the casualties. Everyone began to count the casualties and found that the losses in this battle were higher than expected. More than half of the Yun Xiao battle team was dead or injured. This made Li Xiaoyan's expression very ugly. Damn it. The Lu Kingdom's treasures are right in front of us. Their deaths are worth it, Shang Han said faintly. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes lit up as they looked at the ancient city in front of them. They gulped and their eyes revealed their desire. The Lu Kingdom's treasures. The Lu Kingdom's treasures that countless people dreamed of were right in front of them. As long as they could get the treasures, any sacrifice would be worth it. With this thought in mind, everyone began to search the ancient city. Such a huge Lu Kingdom is gone just like that. I wonder why, one of the team members lamented. Who knows? Let's look for the treasures first. It should be in the palace. Everyone went straight to the palace. Soon, they saw the palace's treasure vault and rushed in excitedly. Then they were all stunned. Where's the treasure? Why is there nothing? The Lu Kingdom's treasures. Where did the Lu Kingdom's treasures go? Everyone could not accept it. They had gone through so many hardships to get here and sacrificed so many people just for the Lu Kingdom's treasures. Now, however, the treasures were gone. Those with slightly weaker Taoist hearts were about to vomit blood. This can't be. The Lu Kingdom's heritage is stronger than the likes of the royal Azure dynasty. How could there be nothing? Shang Han was also dumbfounded. Hold on, look, what's that? Suddenly, someone exclaimed as he looked at a pillar. Everyone looked over and saw a line of words. Before they could see it clearly, they felt an extremely cold sword-based Taoist rhyme rushing toward them. Li Xiaoyan was a swordsman. Moreover, he was a great swordsman ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. However, even he was shocked when he felt the sword-based Taoist rhyme. His expression turned serious. What a terrifying sword Taoist rhyme. The person who left these words is definitely a terrifying sword cultivator. Li Xiaoyan stared at it and read out the words on it. Chu Kuangren was here. All of a sudden, everyone became quiet. The moment Chu Kuangren's name came out, it was as if it had a magical power that shocked everyone, causing their expressions to change. Chu Kuangren, how can it be him? It's actually him who obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasure. Damn it, how did he get in? After finding out who had obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasures, not only did everyone not have the thought of snatching the treasures back, but they also felt even more hopeless. It was all because the person who obtained the treasure was called Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, ranked first in the 100-sword spectrum. No wonder he has such a sword-based Taoist rhyme. He truly lives up to his name, Li Xiaoyan murmured. Damn it, damn it. Beside him, Shang Han's face was livid. The spiritual power in his body boiled uncontrollably and bombarded the surrounding walls. He was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He had gone through many books to find the Lu clan's ancient sword, and he had gone through many hardships to arrive at the Lu Kingdom. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to beat him to it. It's you again, it's you again. Why are you one step ahead of me again? Damn it. Everyone looked at Shang Han, who was venting his anger in a frenzy, and they could not help but feel pity for him. They knew that Shang Han was a young emperor, one of the top sky prides in this world. However, who would dare to call themselves a sky pride in front of Chu Kuangren? All the so-called sky prides were not even worth mentioning in front of him. Captain, what should we do now? A member of the Yun Xiao troop said unwillingly. They had gone through many hardships to get here. Were they going to go back empty-handed? Thinking of this, no one would be willing to give up. What else can we do? Do you want to fight Chu Kuangren to the death? Li Xiaoyan said. How would I dare to do that? That troop member quickly shook his head. Fight Chu Kuangren to the death. Stop joking. It was more like courting death. In this world, how many people would dare to fight Chu Kuangren? Even sages would have to think twice before doing so. Sigh. I can't believe that Chu Kuangren would take away this treasure. What a waste of effort. Everyone was extremely dejected and listless. Holding on to their last glimmer of hope, they searched the treasury again to see if they could find anything. For example, whether Chu Kuangren had left anything behind or not. However, they could not even find a single soul stone. Chu Kuangren was too thorough in his looting. Captain, we have a new discovery here. At that moment, Li Xiaoyan received a message from his troop members. Everyone came to the palace hall with hope in their hearts. Here, they saw the countless runes and the Lu Kingdom ruler, who was holding the Heaven's Halberd in his hand. When he saw the Heaven's Halberd, Shang Han's expression changed from disbelief to ecstasy. The Heaven's Halberd, it really is the Heaven's Halberd. No way. Are you kidding me? Chu Kuangren left the most valuable treasure behind, and didn't take it away. He can't be stupid, right? Shang Han was ecstatic. The Heaven's Halberd was his biggest goal on this trip. Initially, when he saw Chu Kuangren's words, he no longer had any hope of getting the Heaven's Halberd. However, he never expected that Chu Kuangren would not take away the most valuable boundary emperor weapon in the Lu Kingdom. Shang Han could not wait to enter the palace hall. At that moment, the Lu Kingdom ruler's body trembled slightly as he shot out a golden light that transformed into his appearance before he was born, and began to play a video. Newcomer. I am the Lu Kingdom ruler. The Lu Kingdom ruler began to narrate the past, telling everyone about the millions of tormented souls sealed under the palace, and asking them not to take the Heaven's Halberd. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. They did not expect such a dangerous thing to be under their feet. Captain, what should we do? Let's go. This thing is not something we can touch. Li Xiaoyan said calmly. Everyone reluctantly glanced at the Heaven's Halberd. However, at that moment, everyone saw Shang Han ignore the Lu Kingdom ruler's advice, and walk towards the Heaven's Halberd with a crazed look on his face. This is a boundary emperor weapon, how can I give it up? If Chu Kuangren doesn't dare to take it, I'll take it. Chu Kuangren pretends to be benevolent and cares about the people of the world, but I'll follow my heart and take this boundary emperor weapon. I'll let the world know that Chu Kuangren is no match for me, Shang Han. He grabbed the heavens halberd, and the spiritual power within his body erupted as he pulled the heavens halberd out of the Lu kingdom ruler's hand. Suddenly, the entire palace and even the entire Lu city trembled violently, and cracks began to appear on the ground. It was as if some terrifying existence was about to rush out. Inside the palace, the golden runes began to shatter. This is bad. Let's go. Li Xiaoyan was terrified, and the rest of the battle team members also began to rush out of the palace in a panic. Chapter 236. Shang Han, who had obtained the heavens halberd, immediately flew out of the palace without hesitation. His speed was even faster than Li Xiaoyan and the rest. Li Xiaoyan and the rest cursed loudly behind his back. That damn Shang Han, is he crazy? He doesn't care about our lives and forcefully took the heavens halberd. This guy is too evil. What a bastard. Now that things have come to this, there's no point in talking anymore. Let's run. Everyone ran out of Lucheng. When they ran out of the palace, they saw that the entire palace had begun to collapse, revealing a huge crack in the ground. Within the crack, a terrifying ferocious aura was rumbling. Li Xiaoyan took the time to look back. Then he saw a scene that made his scalp tingle. From the crack in the ground, a black torrent suddenly rose into the sky. It was formed by countless tormented souls. Roars and screams continuously gushed out from this black torrent, and the sinister and twisted faces made one's heart palpitate. Just one glance was enough to make Li Xiaoyan feel an unprecedented impact on his Taoist heart. He could not help but increase his speed of escape. Kill, kill. Kill everyone. Woo woo. I'm out. Countless tormented souls were roaring and yelling, and there were even some unintelligible whimpers mixed together like the demonic sounds of hell. Boundless ferocious aura and resentment filled the world. The enchanted barrier of Lucheng could not withstand this terrifying power, and shattered on the spot. Countless tormented souls rushed out of the enchanted barrier. For a moment, the entire inner zone of the ancient battlefield was shaken by this torrent of tormented souls. Countless tormented souls let out uneasy roars. Even these tormented souls who had lived in the ancient battlefield for a long time could not help but be frightened by this tormented army from tens of thousands of years ago. This towering resentment seemed to be tolerated by heaven and earth. Oh my God, what have we released? Li Xiaoyan and the rest who rushed out of the enchanted barrier looked at the sky full of tormented souls, and could not help but gulp. Their faces were filled with shock and horror. At that moment, some of the tormented souls noticed them. These tormented souls were wearing armor and holding weapons. They stared at them ferociously and rushed towards them without saying a word. Living people, kill. The tormented souls rushed towards Li Xiaoyan and the rest. That endless resentment was shocking. Li Xiaoyan's team members were all shocked, and their reactions slowed down for a second. In that instant, the consequences were unimaginable. One by one, the tormented souls tore at the members of the battle team, and sliced them into pieces. Quick, gather together. Li Xiaoyan yelled. The remaining members quickly gathered around him. Li Xiaoyan took out a bead and crushed it. A mysterious Taoist rhyme filled the air, causing the surrounding sand to rise into the air, and form a sand barrier around them, preventing the tormented souls from approaching. After attacking for a while, the tormented army no longer paid them any heed. They looked towards the direction of Sunsoil City in the distance, and quickly rushed towards it. Having been sealed under the palace for tens of thousands of years, the weight of their grievances could be said to be earth-shattering. They needed to vent. Killing and devouring were the best ways for them to vent. Wherever the tormented army went, other tormented existences would be devoured. The heavens and earth were shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere, as if doomsday had arrived. In the direction of Sunsoil City, there were experts who sensed all this. Not good, the tormented souls are attacking. What? Tormented souls, so many tormented souls, such terrifying grievances. This is not something that humans can handle. Run. My God, with such a large number of tormented souls, It won't be long before the entire Sunsoil city becomes a living hell. We can't stay here any longer. Run. One by one, the cultivators began to flee Sunsoil city frantically. Inside the restaurant, it was a scene of panic. Everyone began to pack up and flee to other places. Qian Fugui could not help but laugh bitterly when he saw this. This restaurant is gone. What a loss, what a loss. With the arrival of the tormented army, the entire Sunsoil city could not be saved, let alone his small restaurant. Boss, hurry up and leave. If the tormented souls come, even I might not be able to protect you. A green figure appeared behind Qian Fugui and said, Got it. Qian Fugui pouted. A few hundred miles away from Sunsoil city, there was an orthodoxy. It was the Horizon Wing sect, an honorable orthodoxy. Today, the Horizon Wing sect rang the alarm bell that had not rung for many years, announcing that the Horizon Wing sect was about to enter a life and death crisis. Countless disciples' faces turned solemn as they hurriedly gathered together. The Horizon Wing sect's current sect leader was clad in a full set of armor. He said to the countless disciples below, I can sense a terrifying force coming from the ancient battlefield towards this direction. It's an army, a terrifying army made up of tormented souls. Once they break through Sunsoil city, the tens of millions of civilians under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect will suffer. I've already sent a request to the Black Heaven sect, but it'll take some time for reinforcements to arrive. I plan to lead some people to fight against the tormented souls first. Everyone, this is destined to be a battle of life and death with heavy casualties. If any of you wish to leave, please leave now. After that, all the disciples began to discuss among themselves. Not long after, more than a dozen people left one after another. However, the rest of them had a determined look on their faces. Most of them were born and raised on this land, so they had feelings for this land. They could not sit back and watch the tormented souls kill without restraint. All right, let's fight against the tormented souls together. Let's go. The Horizon Wing sect leader shouted. Then, streaks of light flew towards the direction of Sunsoil city, deep within the ancient battlefield. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu arrived at the edge of the core area. He could clearly feel that the ferocious qi contained within the core area far surpassed that of the inner zone. This was the true forbidden area. Master, do we still have to go forward? Lan Yu asked curiously. The ferocious qi in the core area was so strong that even a young emperor like her felt threatened. Once they went deeper, they would most likely die. However, if Chu Kuangren wanted to go, she would follow him. Chu Kuangren looked at the core area from afar and fell into deep thought. With his powerful strength and many trump cards, it was not impossible for him to explore the core area. However, this was one of the 10 great forbidden areas, and he was bringing Lan Yu with him. If anything happened, he would regret it. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren looked surprised. In his field of vision, he saw a white figure appear in the core area from afar. It was a skinny figure wearing a white robe, holding a black spear in his hand, and his face was covered with a mask. However, that white figure only stayed in his field of vision for a moment before it disappeared. Besides him, not even Lan Yu who was beside him could be seen. Is that the white-robed general? Chu Kuangren was surprised. He did not expect to meet one of the 7 great ghost stories here. Just as he saw the white-robed general, Chu Kuangren suddenly felt an extremely terrifying ferocious qi coming from behind him. He turned around and saw a black torrent rising into the sky from the direction of Lu City, before it headed towards Sunsoil City. Could that be the tormented army of the Tranquil Kingdom? Chu Kuangren's pupils shrunk. He did not expect the tormented army to be released so soon after he left. Chapter 237. Master. Lan Yu looked at the tormented army with a solemn expression. Let's go. Let's go and have a look. Chu Kuangren frowned, and then dashed towards the direction of the ancient Lu Kingdom. At this time, the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom had been destroyed by the endless tormented army, exposing the huge ancient city to the sunlight. Outside the city, a sand ball that was formed from countless grains of sand suddenly trembled. Then the sand fell and the sand ball dissipated. Li Xiaoyun and the others looked around and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. The tormented army is finally gone. Phew, we just survived a disaster. It's too terrifying. This is too terrifying. The tormented army's resentment is so strong that I've never seen anything like it in my long time in the ancient battlefield. I'm afraid Sunsoil City is going to be gone, everyone said with lingering fear. D*MN. It's all that D*MN Shanghan's fault. How could he take that boundary emperor weapon and destroy the seal? Scarface cursed. At the mention of that, the others were also furious. This time, they had really suffered a huge loss. After losing so many people, they finally found the ancient Lu kingdom, but they did not even see a single piece of the treasure. They even released the tormented army that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, the culprit was Shang Han, the young emperor of the Shang clan. With their strength and background, they could not do anything to him. They could only grit their teeth and bear with it. Let's go. We can't stay here any longer, Li Xiaoyun said. He was about to leave with the others. At that moment, two figures suddenly appeared in front of them. It's them. Scarface saw the two people walking towards them and said, "These two are the ones that I told you about. They're the ones with the broken sage weapon." At that, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Since we haven't gotten the Lu Kingdom's treasure, we can't let go of the broken sage weapon. If it was just one person, he would have considered attacking. However, since Li Xiaoyun and the others were here, he no longer had any scruples. Boom. Scarface stomped on the ground and his whole body shot out like a cannonball, charging towards Chu Kuangren and Li Xiaoyun. "Brat, hand over your life." Scarface unleashed a slash with his Taoist rhyme locking onto Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren looked up and gently raised his hand. A surge of Taoist rhyme that was many times more majestic than Scarface's instantly erupted, turning into a divine mountain that smashed onto the other party's body. With a bang, Scarface was beaten into a bloody mist on the spot. In the battle team, the other people who still wanted to attack were stunned. What was going on? What just happened? Hiss. When everyone regained their senses, they couldn't help but gasp. Among them, Scarface's strength could be said to be at the peak. Although he wasn't a supreme being, he wasn't far from it. However, it had been blown up with a single slap. The newcomer was actually this powerful. "Alert!" Li Xiaoyun yelled. Everyone took out their weapons. They were about to have a mental breakdown. How did they encounter so many things in just one day? First, he was ambushed by the tormented sword fiends and the other tormented souls. After he finally found the ancient Lu kingdom, he lost the treasure and narrowly escaped death under the tormented army. Now, he had encountered another existence that seemed extremely difficult to deal with. "Oh my God! Did you not look at the almanac when you went out today?" Li Xiaoyun could not help but gulp as he looked at Chu Kuangren, who was slowly approaching him. His heart was beating extremely fast in his chest. Danger. Extremely dangerous. The person in front of him was definitely the greatest enemy he had ever met in his life. It seems that the person on the other side isn't very friendly, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Initially, he just wanted to ask what had happened here, but he did not expect that Scarface would attack him without saying a word. Hence, he had no choice but to slap him to death. However, it seemed like it would be a little difficult to ask a normal question now. "I guess I'll have to suppress him a little before I ask." Chu Kuangren pressed his hand on the descendant self-sword at his waist. The blade gently trembled. Then, an indescribably terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme erupted from Chu Kuangren's body and swept out in an earth-shattering manner. When this sword-based Taoist rhyme landed on the Yun Xiao battle team, their faces instantly turned pale, and their eyes were filled with extreme fear. Apart from Li Xiaoyun, everyone else felt as if 100,000 mountains had been placed on their backs as they were all pressed to the ground. Even Li Xiaoyun's legs turned to jelly, and his clothes were drenched in cold sweat in just a few breaths. "This Taoist rhyme. You're Chu Kuangren," Li Xiaoyun said with a trembling voice. This Taoist rhyme was exactly the same as the words left in the Lu Kingdom's treasury. There was no doubt that the person in front of them was the one who left those words in the treasury. That was the world-renowned Chu Kuangren. "Oh, I see that you've recognized me." Chu Kuangren withdrew the spiritual light from his face and revealed a peerless face, no longer hiding himself. Seeing his face, Li Xiaoyan and the others no longer had any doubts. Rumor had it that Chu Kuangren's appearance was unparalleled. Was the person in front of them not unparalleled? No wonder he could kill seventh brother with a single slap. It turns out that he's Chu Kuangren. How did we provoke such an existence? Wait a minute, Chu Kuangren is here, and his words are still in the treasury. Don't tell me that the treasury was opened in just a few days? F***ck me, how bad is our luck then? Everyone lay on the ground and began to discuss. Li Xiaoyan forced himself not to kneel, but that alone had exhausted all of his strength, let alone resisting. I can't believe the gap between me and him is so huge. Li Xiaoyan was an honorable supreme, ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. He believed that he could even fight Morongfeng, who was ranked 2nd. However, before Chu Kuangren, who was ranked 1st in the 100-sword spectrum, he found it hard to even draw his sword. Tell me what happened here. Chu Kuangren walked to Li Xiaoyan and said. Li Xiaoyan did not dare to hide anything from Chu Kuangren. He told Chu Kuangren about their search for the ancient city, and how Shanghan released the tormented souls. Shanghan? That name sounds familiar. Chu Kuangren pondered, wondering where he had heard it before. Master, he's the Shang clan's young emperor. For years ago, you defeated him in the Royal Azure Dynasty Palace, Lan Yu reminded. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren finally understood. Oh, it's him. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have remembered. I've fought this person before. He's so weak that I don't even remember him. Chu Kuangren shook his head and sighed. Beside him, Li Xiaoyan and the others had a complicated look on their faces. Was that Shanghan weak? Not at all. As a young emperor, he was extremely powerful. His combat strength was even stronger than some of the honorables. However, in Chu Kuangren's eyes, he was not even worth remembering. If Shanghan knew about this, who knew what he would think? The person that Shanghan viewed as his mortal enemy did not even remember him. Was this how a real boss should be? Sunsoil City. Looks like we'll have to leave the exploration of the core area for another time. Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked into the distance. In a flash, he brought Lan Yu with him and headed towards Sunsoil City. As soon as he left, the sword-based Taoist rhyme that enveloped everyone slowly dissipated. Everyone felt their bodies relax as if they had been given a new life. They lay on the ground, panting. Is that Chu Kuangren? He's so terrifying. Yeah, we can't fight back against him. Powerful, terrifying. Chapter 238. Inside Sunsoil City, countless adventurers had abandoned the city and fled. From afar, they could see the Black Torrent approaching them. It was a terrifying army made up of countless tormented souls. The soaring murderous aura and resentment were daunting. Wherever the army passed, the tormented souls were easily torn apart, destroyed and devoured. No one could stop them. From afar, the crowd could even see an honorable adventurer being dragged into the tormented army. Within a few breaths, he was torn into pieces. It was a gruesome sight. The tormented army seemed to have only one rule: kill anyone on sight. This is too terrifying. I'm afraid Sunsoil City is going to be gone today. Everyone, including the few famous top-notch troops in Sunsoil City, had no choice but to flee in the face of the tormented army. However, among the fleeing crowd, a group of defiant ones appeared. While everyone was busy fleeing Sunsoil City, these people were heading straight for Sunsoil City from afar. Every single one of them had a determined look on their faces. These people are from the Horizon Wing sect. What are they doing? What are they doing in Sunsoil City? Everyone was puzzled. At that moment, someone lamented. After Sunsoil City is the territory under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect. There are tens of millions of civilians living there. Once Sunsoil City is gone, you can imagine what will happen to the civilians. They're here to defend against the tormented souls. Hearing this, some people had a look of respect in their eyes. However, there were also those who scoffed. These people think they can defend against the tormented army? They must be tired of living. That's right, this army is too terrifying. Forget about one Horizon Wing sect. Even 10 Horizon Wing sects wouldn't be able to stop it. They'll just be sending themselves to their deaths if they go. In Sunsoil City. As soon as Lung Chongkong and the others returned to Sunsoil City, they saw the majestic and resentful tormented army. Lung Chongkong immediately thought of the countless civilians under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect. He knew that his sect would not leave them be. As expected, not long after, he received a message from the Horizon Wing sect. Old Zhang, bring Wang Chao and the others away. Lung Chongkong said to Old Zhang of the Horizon Wing squad. Other than the people from the Horizon Wing sect, there were also a few people who were not from the Horizon Wing sect. There was no reason for them to stay and fight the tormented army. Captain, what are you talking about? I don't know about the others, but I, Old Zhang, am not leaving. We agreed to live and die together, Old Zhang said. Yes, we're not leaving either. Aren't they just tormented souls? I've seen too many of them. The members of the Horizon Feather Battle Team had been through thick and thin together for many years. None of them wanted to leave. At this point, Lung Chongkong suddenly felt that his greatest achievement in this life was not becoming a Taoist, but having this group of brothers. At this moment, rays of light flew over the heads of Lung Chongkong and the others. The people from the Horizon Wing sect had arrived. Let's go. Lung Chongkong took a deep breath, his eyes filled with determination. He led the crowd toward the city wall of Tuyang City. In the city, among the fleeing crowd, there was a young monk dressed in cloth clothes and shoes. He held a Buddhist staff in his hand, and was also walking towards the city walls. Everyone was surprised to see him. This monk doesn't want his life anymore. He actually dares to go to the city gates. Isn't he afraid of the tormented souls? Who cares? Let's just run. The young monk listened to the people around him with a calm expression. He looked at the incoming tormented souls from afar and murmured, Ba, if I don't go to hell, who will? At this thought, he walked towards the city gates without hesitation. At this moment, he saw the Horizon Wing sect cultivators flying towards the city walls to fend off the tormented souls. He smiled. My path is not lonely, my path is not lonely. On the city walls of Tuyang City, the Horizon Wing sect master and a group of elders were looking at the tormented army from afar with grave expressions. The tormented army's terror was beyond their imagination. Even from afar, they could still feel the immense pressure. That terrifying resentment caused goosebumps to rise all over their bodies. At this time, Lung Chongkong and the others had also arrived. Greetings, sect master elders. This is wartime. There's no need for formalities. Yes. Lung Chongkong noticed a young monk beside the Horizon Wing sect master, and could not help but be curious. This master is. My name is Wu Yi. The young monk, Wu Yi, smiled faintly. Upon hearing this, Lung Chongkong and the others could not help but be shocked. Wu Yi, the Thunder Temple's Arhat, Wu Yi. The outstanding figure of the younger generation of Buddhism, and also one of the 38 young emperors, Wu Yi. He's here too. Wu Yi was a well-known name among the younger generation. The titles of Arhat and Young Emperor were enough to resound throughout the world. Master Wu Yi came to the ancient battlefield to train. Now that we've encountered the tormented army, Master Wu Yi is compassionate and has come to help. The Horizon Wing sect master said. I see. Lung Chongkong's expression turned solemn as he bowed to Wu Yi. Then, the group began to discuss how to deal with the tormented army. The tormented army was less than 100 miles away from Tuyang City. With the speed of the tormented army, they would arrive in no time at all. There was not much time left for the group. I've observed them. The tormented army's individual strength is not strong, but they're very concentrated, just like a military formation. They've gathered all the tormented army's strength together. That's the trickiest part. That's right. If we can break this formation, the tormented army will disperse. Then it'll be much easier to deal with them. How do we break this formation? Since it's a military formation, there must be a general leading it. As long as we eliminate the general among the tormented army, this formation can be broken. But there are so many tormented army, how do we find the general? At this point, the group fell into another dilemma. Arhat Wu Yi smiled faintly. Leave it to me. The group looked at him. The Horizon Wing sect master's heart skipped a beat. Rumor has it that the Thunder Temple has a technique called the Divine Eye. When cultivated to the extreme, one can observe the 3 realms and 6 paths. Master Wu Yi, are you thinking of using the Divine Eye to find the tormented army general? I can give it a try. Wu Yi nodded slightly. Then, a golden light flashed in his eyes. With the Divine Eye activated, the tormented army in the distance immediately came into view. The majestic resentment surged towards him, causing his body to tremble. His Divine Eye was almost blinded. With a solemn expression, he began to search among the tormented army. Finally, he locked onto a tormented army. The tormented army was clad in a set of black armor, and the resentment on its body was extremely dense. Countless tormented army hovered around it, as if they were protecting it. Looks like this is the tormented army's leader. Arhat Wu Yi explained his discovery to the Horizon Wing sect master and the others. Next, we'll have to kill this tormented army general. Leave it to me. The Horizon Wing sect master smiled faintly. He took out a golden longbow that exuded an extraordinary Taoist rhyme. Then an arrow appeared in his hand. He knocked the arrow and, under Wu Ye's guidance, locked onto the tormented army general's position. The Horizon Wing sect master pulled the golden longbow to its fullest extent and continuously channeled spiritual energy into the longbow. Then, with a whoosh, the arrow shot through the air and turned into a golden ray of light that flew towards the tormented army general. Chapter 239. The arrow pierced through the air like a ray of light. The arrow pierced through the tormented army and headed straight for the tormented general. The tormented army along the way was pierced through and shattered into pieces. In the blink of an eye, the arrow had traveled hundreds of miles and arrived in front of the tormented general. Everyone's eyes lit up. We did it. But at this moment, the general suddenly raised his right hand and grabbed the arrow. A boundless and terrifying killing intent erupted. The arrow trembled violently before it was crushed into pieces. This scene caused the Horizon Wing sect master's pupils to shrink. How is this possible? He was dumbfounded. Although the golden bow in his hand was not a sacred weapon, it was still a top-notch supreme weapon. Coupled with his supreme honorable cultivation base, even a supreme honorable would find it difficult to defend against it. Yet the tormented general had crushed it with brute force. What kind of strength was that? A top-tier honorable supreme that's even close to a demisage. The Horizon Wing sect master's expression was grim. The rest of them looked equally grim. Roar! The tormented general seemed to be enraged by the ambush. He let out a roar, and the tormented army suddenly accelerated their advance. It would not be long before they would have to face the tormented army head-on. D***, if we don't break through the tormented army's formation, this battle will be difficult. I'm afraid we won't be able to hold on for long with our current strength. No matter what, we must fight this battle. The Horizon Wing sect master took a deep breath and looked determined. I don't believe it. An elder rushed out with a spear in his hand that was glowing brightly. A powerful Taoist rhyme circulated within it. The spear shot out and a majestic burst of Taoist rhyme rushed into the tormented army. The spear was aimed directly at the tormented general. However, before it could get close, it was blocked by the other tormented army. It could not hurt the general at all. Heavenly Sword Chi. Another elder slashed out with his sword. Wu Yi took a deep breath and formed a mysterious hand seal. A golden Buddhist light imbued with the power of Vajra shot out. A sword and a Buddhist light shot towards the tormented general. However, just like before, it was completely ineffective. After the previous ambush, the number of tormented souls surrounding the tormented general had increased, making it even more difficult for them to break through. Damn it. Lung Chongkong was indignant. He continued to channel his sword chi towards the tormented army. However, even an expert like the Horizon Wing sect master, Wu Yi, could not do it, let alone a mere paradise realm cultivator. The sword chi was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no response. The Horizon Wing sect master sighed and said, Chongkong, conserve your spiritual energy and prepare for the upcoming battle. Lung Changkong nodded reluctantly. But suddenly, he thought of something. He once again channeled his spirit energy into the sword in his hand. The Horizon Wing sect master could not help but frown when he saw this. Why didn't this child listen to my advice? Just as he was about to reprimand Lung Changkong, a terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme suddenly erupted from Lung Changkong's sword. This sword-based Taoist rhyme was so powerful that it instantly engulfed the entire city wall. Everyone looked in the direction of Lung Changkong in shock. What a strong pressure! How could Daozi possibly have such strength? It's not the Daozi, it's the sword in his hand. What's going on? The sword in Lung Changkong's hand emitted a dazzling purple radiance. The dazzling sword ray circulated around the sword's edge, as if it was about to burst out. Lung Changkong was stunned. Before returning to Sunsoil City, Chu Kuangren had left a surge of sword chi in his sword, telling him that he could use it if he encountered an opponent that he could not defeat. However, they did not encounter any danger on their way back to Sunsoil City, so the surge of sword chi was preserved until now. Just now he was only trying his best to channel the sword chi. He did not have high hopes for it. After all, even experts like the Horizon Wing sect master and Wu Yi could not do much here. What could Chu Kuangren's surge of sword chi do? However, he did not expect that. That surge of sword chi was so powerful. The endless power that came from the sword made his scalp numb. It was a terrifying power that he had never seen before. And now that power was in his hands. At that moment, his heart was filled with pride. He could not help but raise the sword in his hand and aim it at the tormented army's general. He took a step forward and a majestic sword pressure swept out. Slash! With a loud roar, the sword in his hand slashed down. A dazzling purple sword ray swept out like an endless torrent, and slashed into the group of tormented souls. Wherever the sword chi passed, the tormented souls were shattered into nothingness. As if sensing an unprecedented threat, the tormented general let out a piercing howl. A terrifying ferocious chi erupted from his body, and turned into a hideous skull that collided with the sword ray. As the two forces collided, the skull exploded. The sword ray landed on the tormented general's body without holding back. After a scream, the tormented general was completely destroyed by the sword ray. Without their general, the remaining tormented army fell into chaos. On top of Sunsoil City's walls, everyone stared at Lung Changkong, dumbfounded. They were still immersed in the shock of that terrifying sword attack. The general that everyone was helpless against was defeated just like that. A surge of sword chi from a Paradise Realm cultivator. At that moment, Lung Changkong was the center of attention. However, both Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing sect master knew that it was not Lung Changkong's doing. It was someone else who performed that attack. At that moment, the long sword in Lung Changkong's hand suddenly let out a cracking sound. Cracks appeared all over the sword before it finally shattered into countless pieces and fell to the ground. Lung Changkong sucked in a cold breath. One should know that his sword was a supreme weapon, but it could not withstand the power of that surge of sword chi. It shattered right after it was released. Changkong, what's going on? The Horizon Wing sect master quickly asked. This surge of sword chi was given to me by a fellow cultivator from the Black Heaven sect. He saved me 2 days ago and asked me to bring him around the ancient battlefield. Before we parted ways, he imbued this surge of sword chi into my sword. Lung Changkong briefly explained the incident. Black Heaven sect? Who's that from the Black Heaven sect? His face was shrouded in a spiritual light, so it was difficult to see him clearly. However, he mentioned that his surname is Chu, Lung Changkong said. Surname Chu. Chu. Could it be? The Horizon Wing sect master's pupil shrunk as if he had thought of something. Someone from the Black Heaven sect with such power, surname Chu. All these characteristics made him think of a person. Is there a silver-haired lady beside him? Wu Yi asked. Yes, I think that lady's surname is Lan. Then I'm sure. Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing sect master looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They then said the same name at the same time. Chu Kuangren. Everyone's expression changed when they heard that name. Lung Changkong was even more stunned. What? Brother Chu is the world-renowned Chu Kuangren? Lung Chongkong recalled the details of his interactions with Chu Kuangren. While he was shocked, he felt that it was reasonable. However, that did not stop him from being shocked. That's Chu Kuangren we're talking about. If one were to ask who was the most famous person in the world today, without a doubt, it was Chu Kuangren. Who doesn't know who he is? Chapter 242. With the help of the spring breeze healing technique, everyone quickly recovered. Chu Kuangren stood in the air and was about to land when he suddenly sensed something and looked in the direction of the ancient battlefield. His gaze pierced through the sea of clouds and saw a white-robed figure standing on a sand dune in the ancient battlefield. That white-robed figure held a spear in his hand and wore a ferocious mask on his face. His pitch-black eyes were staring at Chu Kuangren. The white-robed general? Chu Kuangren frowned. Why did he see this person again? Then he saw the white-robed general put down his spear and bowed in his direction. It was as if he was thanking Chu Kuangren, or bidding farewell to the million tormented souls. Chu Kuangren was stunned. What was he doing now? Just when he was about to chase after him and ask, the white-robed general lifted his spear and disappeared into the sandstorm. Is this guy related to the million tormented souls? Could he be from the Tranquil Kingdom? Chu Kuangren pondered. The million-strong tormented army was formed from the Tranquil Kingdom's army. Could the white-robed general be a general of the Tranquil Kingdom? Otherwise, why would the tormented souls express their gratitude to him when he released them from purgatory? The more Chu Kuangren thought about it, the more likely it seemed. However, there might be other secrets that he did not know about. Without thinking too much, he retracted his spiritual power and returned to the ground. The Horizon Wing sect master, Wu Yi and Lung Chongkong walked up to him. The Horizon Wing sect master greets the sect master. Wu Yi greets Brother Chu. The few of them bowed to him. Chu Kuangren smiled. There's no need to be so polite. He then looked at Lung Chongkong, only to see the latter smiling bitterly at him. Brother Chu, you've kept me in the dark for a long time. Chongkong, don't be rude. The Horizon Wing sect master scolded him. Lung Chongkong regained his senses. Since his own sect master addressed Chu Kuangren as sect leader, it was against the rules for him to address Chu Kuangren as a fellow Taoist. He straightened his expression. Chongkong greets sect leader. There's no need to be so polite, Brother Lung, Chu Kuangren said. Then, the few of them began to clean up the battlefield. The Horizon Wing sect master could not conceal the sorrow in his eyes as he looked at the cultivators of the Horizon Wing sect who had died in battle. They were all great men of my Horizon Wing sect. Let this little monk help them ascend from the heavens. Wu Yi sighed and sat on the spot. A faint Buddhist light emanated from his body as he chanted a scripture. A sacred and peaceful aura spread out. After cleaning up the battlefield, Wu Yi went to look for Chu Kuangren with an intense interest in his eyes. Fellow Taoist Chu, are you a Buddhist cultivator? Master, you must be joking. I'm the Black Heaven sect leader. How could I be a Buddhist cultivator? Chu Kuangren shook his head and laughed. This is impossible. Wu Yi shook his head firmly. If he was not a Buddhist cultivator, how could he have such a Buddhist light? That kind of Buddhist light is something that I, and even the abbot of my Thunder Temple, cannot compare to. That's just a cultivation technique. It can't prove anything. Without the support of the Buddhist Dharma, any Buddhist technique will not be able to display much power. Fellow Chu's body is filled with Buddhist light, indicating that he has a deep understanding of that technique. Similarly, fellow Chu's attainments in the Buddhist Dharma should also be at the peak, Wu Yi said with certainty. From this, it was clear that Chu Kuangren was a Buddhist cultivator. Chu Kuangren was a little speechless. He had obtained the Tathagata rebirth scripture from the Gacha roll, so he did not need to learn any Buddhist Dharma at all. However, he did not bother to explain too much. Seeing that Chu Kuangren was silent, Wu Yi was even more certain that Chu Kuangren was a Buddhist cultivator with a deep understanding of Buddhism. With respect in his eyes, he said, Brother Chu, I've come to the ancient battlefield because this place has the heaviest amount of resentment. I wish to purge these tormented souls and take the opportunity to learn Buddhist Dharma. I've been stuck at this bottleneck for many years, so I hope Brother Chu can guide me. Chu Kuangren was dumbfounded. Guide him? His understanding of Buddhism was limited to some famous sayings and movies that he had seen in his previous life. "You're too kind, Master. My understanding of Buddhist Dharma is very shallow, so I'm afraid I'm asking the wrong person." "There's no need to be humble, Brother Chu. Please enlighten me." Wu Yi was still looking at Chu Kuangren expectantly. He was too eager to break through. He was a dignified Buddhist disciple, the leader of the younger generation of Buddhism, and was known as the most intelligent person in the Thunder Temple in the past 1,000 years. However, the world did not know that his Buddhist Dharma attainment had long been stuck at a bottleneck, and he could not improve at all. This troubled him greatly. For so many years, in order to break through the bottleneck of Buddhist Dharma, he had gone through all the Buddhist scriptures in the Thunder Temple and memorized them by heart. However, the results were minimal, and he still could not break through. Just now, when he saw Chu Kuangren's magnificent Buddhist light and the towering golden ancient Buddha, he seemed to have seen hope. Perhaps this person could help him. Chu Kuangren looked at Wu Ye's stubborn look and felt a headache coming on. "Forget it. I'll just say a few words," he said. "See through, let go, be free." Those 6 short words set off a storm in Wu Ye's mind. See through, let go, be free. It was just 6 words, but they contained all the essence of Buddhism within them. Even a Buddhist disciple like Wu Yi found it difficult to understand the mystery within, but somehow he seemed to have grasped something. See through, let go, be free. Wu Yi kept murmuring as his gaze kept changing. What to see through, what to let go, how to be free. As Wu Yi continued to comprehend, his face gradually became a little crazed. Even the spiritual power on his body began to fluctuate violently. Not good, he's going to go berserk. Beside him, the Horizon Wing sect master suddenly exclaimed. He felt his scalp go numb. Those 6 short words had caused a Buddhist disciple to think so hard, and even show signs of going berserk. That was too terrifying. Why don't I feel anything? Lung Changkong was puzzled. He had also heard those 6 short words from Chu Kuangren, but nothing happened to him. You're different from the Buddhist disciple. Those 6 short words contain countless essences of Buddhism. You don't know Buddhist Dharma, so naturally, you won't understand the mystery within. However, the Buddhist disciple has been reading Buddhist scriptures since he was young, and his Buddhist Dharma cultivation is extremely high. That's why he's like this. The Horizon Wing sect master said in a serious tone. Lung Changkong was confused. In other words, he knew very little, which was why he was fine. The Horizon Wing sect master looked at Chu Kuangren solemnly and said with a trembling voice, I didn't expect sect leader to have such profound attainments in Buddhist Dharma. Those 6 short words contain the essence of Buddhism, causing a Buddhist disciple to be unable to comprehend them. Is it really that exaggerated? You don't have enough comprehension, so of course you don't understand. The corner of Lung Changkong's mouth twitched. Alright, this was the first time someone called him stupid, and he could not refute it. Sect leader, I'm afraid the Buddhist disciple will go berserk if this goes on. What should we do now? The Horizon Wing sect master asked anxiously. He looked at Chu Kuangren, who was calm as if nothing had happened, and his heart was filled with endless admiration. The sect leader was indeed the sect leader. To be able to remain calm under such circumstances. It seems that I still have a lot to learn. The Horizon Wing sect master sighed. Chapter 243. F***CK What's wrong with this monk disciple? Going berserk? What have I done to make this monk disciple go berserk? Chu Kuangren looked calm on the surface, but deep down, he was muttering to himself. His mind was filled with question marks. Did I not just say 6 words? How could a monk disciple go berserk? If I knew this would happen, I would not have fooled him. If something happened to this monk disciple, would the Thunder Temple come after me? Chu Kuangren kept thinking of ways to salvage the situation. Although he was not afraid of the Thunder Temple, Wu Yi was the one who caused this, so he could not just watch him die. Chu Kuangren looked at Wu Yi and gritted his teeth. Keep on fooling him. One's life is created by oneself, and appearances are born from the heart. Everything in the world is an illusion. If the heart does not move, nothing will move. If the heart does not change, nothing will change. A foolish thought leads to the end of wisdom, and a wise thought leads to the birth of wisdom. All appearances are fabricated. If you see the appearance but not the appearance, you will see the Buddha. Chu Kuangren did not care if it was appropriate or not. He recited all the Buddhist scriptures that he had read in his past life. The Horizon Wing sect master was so shocked that his jaw dropped. To him, every word that Chu Kuangren said contained an incomparably exquisite Buddhist truth. What kind of realm of Buddhist understanding is he to be able to say such things? Could the sect leader really be the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Beside him, Lung Changkong looked at Wu Yi with pity. It's over, it's over. The sect leader only said 6 words earlier, and Master Wu Yi was already on the verge of going berserk. Now he said a whole bunch of them. Will Master Wu Yi self-destruct on the spot? The more Lung Changkong thought about it, the more likely it seemed. He quietly gestured to the disciples behind him, asking them to back off. As Chu Kuangren chanted a series of exquisite Buddhist mantras, Wu Ye's ferocious expression gradually became peaceful. His restless spiritual power also calmed down, and a thick Buddhist light suddenly bloomed from his body, shooting straight into the sky. He was enlightened. Under Chu Kuangren's guidance, the doubts that had troubled him for many years were solved one by one. His Buddhist Dharma realm had also risen to another level. Wu Yi, on the other hand, had only understood a little of what Chu Kuangren said. That made him admire Chu Kuangren to the extreme. Master, please accept my bow. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Wu Yi knelt before Chu Kuangren and kowtowed to him. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, they were extremely shocked. This was the monk disciple of the Thunder Temple, a young emperor of the younger generation. Yet now, he was kneeling before Chu Kuangren willingly. It was unbelievable. You may rise. Chu Kuangren stood where he was and accepted Wu Ye's bow. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he managed to bluff his way through. Wu Yi stood up and said, "A teacher is a teacher. Teacher's Dharma cultivation is so high that it's unimaginable. With a few pointers, even if I've only comprehended a little bit of it, I've already been enlightened. This guidance has benefited me for the rest of my life. This kindness is greater than the heavens. From today onwards, teacher will be my teacher. Master Wu Yi, you're welcome." Chu Kuangren chuckled. Wu Yi wanted to acknowledge Chu Kuangren as his honorable teacher, but it was not because he wanted Chu Kuangren to be his honorable teacher. As long as it didn't affect him, he didn't mind. After dealing with the tormented army and cleaning up the battlefield, Chu Kuangren wondered if he should enter the ancient battlefield's core area again. After some thought, he decided to go and have a look. However, since the ancient battlefield's core area was extremely dangerous, he decided to let Lan Yu stay in Sunsoil City for the time being while he went alone to explore. Ancient battlefield. In the inner zone, Chu Kuangren passed by the Lu Kingdom's ancient city. After the tormented army broke through the seal, the enchanted boundary had disappeared, exposing the huge ancient city to the sunlight. Chu Kuangren sighed as he looked at the dilapidated walls. The Lu Kingdom used to be a powerful sage orthodoxy, and its heritage was even stronger than sage orthodoxies like the Royal Azure dynasty. However, even the powerful Lu Kingdom could not escape its fate of destruction. It was evident that there were few things in this world that could last forever. At that thought, Chu Kuangren's desire for power grew even stronger. Only by becoming stronger could he ensure the Black Heaven sect's longevity. Becoming an emperor? No, he wanted to surpass the great emperor. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with determination. Looking at the ancient city in front of him, he suddenly thought of something. That boundary emperor weapon was taken by Shang Han, right? Interesting. I wonder if he would dare to come after me now that he has a boundary emperor weapon? At that thought, he was suddenly looking forward to it. He was almost invincible among the younger generation, so he would be quite happy if there were a few capable cultivators among them. He would treat it as a way to relieve his boredom. At that moment, sounds of fighting suddenly came from the Lu Kingdom's royal palace. Chu Kuangren's figure moved and turned into a stream of light. In the next instant, he had arrived at the Lu Kingdom's royal palace. There was a group of cultivators who were currently fighting over something. Hand over the sage's bone. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place alive. A burly man shouted at a young man. The surrounding cultivators were also glaring at the young man. That young man was also stubborn and said coldly, "You want the sage's bone? Dream on. Die then." Everyone rushed forward and attacked the young man. The cultivation level of this group of people was not weak. The weakest among them was at least a battle monarch, and that young man's combat strength was at the level of a late-stage honorable. However, there were at least 3 people whose combat strength was similar to his. Being outnumbered, that young man soon fell into a disadvantageous position. When Chu Kuangren arrived, that young man was already covered in wounds. Upon hearing their conversation, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought. Sage's bone. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the remains of the Lu Kingdom's ruler. I can't believe this remains are still here. Lu Cheng's exposure naturally attracted many adventurers. In the ancient city, Chu Kuangren had taken all the treasures and the Boundary Emperor weapon. Naturally, the most valuable thing was the sage's bone. These people were fighting over it. Seeing that the young man was covered in wounds, Chu Kuangren had no intention of attacking. After all, he did not know that young man. It was common for cultivators to kill each other and steal their treasures. Not long after, the young man's arm was cut off by a cultivator. That arm flew out along with his yin and yang ring. That yin and yang ring contained the sage's bone. Seeing that, the crowd immediately rushed forward. This sage's bone is mine. Scram. However, a sudden suction force suddenly landed on the broken arm. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and grabbed it before taking off the yin and yang ring. With a jolt of his spiritual thought, the Lu Kingdom's ruler's remains were indeed inside. The surface of the remains glowed with golden light and Taoist rhymes. It was much stronger than an ordinary sage's remains. Chu Kuangren concluded that the Lu Kingdom's ruler's cultivation level was probably close to a great sage when he was alive. Such a strong cultivator was very rare. Even the sage orthodoxies in the firmament star did not necessarily have a great sage behind them. This sage's remains must be worth a lot. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. When the other cultivators saw that Chu Kuangren had taken the yin and yang ring, their expressions immediately darkened. Some of them even took out their weapons and charged at him, wanting to kill him and steal his treasures. Chapter 244. Hand over the sage's bones. Be *starred. How dare you steal something right under our noses? Dozens of cultivators charged towards Chu Kuangren with their weapons. However, Chu Kuangren stood still. The descendant self-sword at his waist gently vibrated, and an extremely cold sword-based Taoist rhyme erupted, turning into sword chi along with spiritual power. The sword chi spread like a hurricane, and all the cultivators who charged towards Chu Kuangren were torn apart by the sword chi, before they could even get within 3 meters of Chu Kuangren. When the others saw this, they sucked in a cold breath. What a powerful strength! Who is this person? Wait a minute, a beautiful ancient sword at his waist, coupled with his extraordinary temperament, could he be Chu Kuangren? When the name Chu Kuangren came out, everyone at the scene did not dare to act rashly. They all retreated to the side. Meanwhile, the previous owner of the yin and yang ring, the young cultivator who had his arm cut off in the battle, walked towards Chu Kuangren. Brother Chu, thank you for your help. In the future, I will definitely pay you a visit to thank you. Thank you. As he spoke, he reached out his hand. Chu Kuangren frowned. What are you doing? Brother Chu, shouldn't you return my yin and yang ring to me? The young man said in disbelief. This yin and yang ring is my trophy. Why should I return it to you? After all, if Chu Kuangren had not taken the yin and yang ring, this young man would have died for sure. Now this young man wanted to take the sage's remains from Chu Kuangren, which made him feel a little ridiculous. The sage's remains belonged to those who were capable. If this young man was strong enough, it would not be a problem for him to take the remains. However, he was ambitious but weak. You? The young man's expression changed and he said angrily, is the Black Heaven sect leader going to steal other people's belongings like this? You're being unreasonable. Chu Kuangren shook his head and casually struck out with his palm. An extremely violent Taoist rhyme turned into an ancient godly mountain, and with a boom, the young man was blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Chu Kuangren to be so decisive. Is there anyone else who wants this sage's remains? Chu Kuangren calmly swept his gaze across the crowd. The strongest cultivator among them was only an honorable. In front of Chu Kuangren, who could slay a sage, they were just like ants. How would they dare to compete with him? Since the saint's skeleton has fallen into Brother Chu's hands, we naturally don't dare to fight with you. Goodbye. Haha. Being able to witness fellow Taoist Chu's elegant demeanor today is also a fortunate thing. This trip was not in vain. Sect leader Chu is indeed, as the rumors say. You have the talent of a celestial being. I'm convinced. This sage's remains should be yours. I just remembered that I have something to do at home. Goodbye. What? Wife, you're about to give birth. I'll go back now. Some of them complimented Chu Kuangren, while some of them took out their communication compass and pretended to be having a conversation. After that, they left the scene one after another. These people would not dare to fight with Chu Kuangren, even if they were given 10 guts. Chu Kuangren used his spiritual thought to scan the entire Lu Kingdom Palace. After finding nothing, he left the ancient city and headed towards the ancient battlefield's core area. Ancient battlefield, core area. This was a place that even the sages were extremely afraid of. The density of ferocious qi here was more than 10 times that of the ancient battlefield's inner zone. High-level tormented souls could be seen almost everywhere. Chu Kuangren felt a little uncomfortable when he stepped into it. He had to channel his spiritual power to counteract the discomfort. He activated his treasure locating skill. Chu Kuangren then began to search for some treasures nearby. There's a sage weapon 300 kilometers ahead. His eyes lit up as his figure turned into a stream of light and arrived at the location of the sage weapon. The sage weapon was buried in a sand dune. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and unleashed a surge of spiritual qi. The sand dune exploded. A crimson longsword was blasted out. Although this holy sword was covered in rust, it was still suffused with strands of sharp sword qi, causing others to feel fear at the sight of it. Chu Kuangren held the sacred sword and channeled his spiritual power into it. Instantly, the rust on the sacred sword peeled off, revealing a bright red blade. 2 small words were engraved on the blade's edge. Blood execution. Sacred sword blood execution. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction as he tossed the sacred sword into the sacred emerald sword case to be nurtured. Then he continued to search the core area. Although this place was much more dangerous than the inner zone and the outer zone, there were many opportunities of fortune as well. In just half a day, Chu Kuangren had already obtained 2 sage weapons and 7 to 8 supreme weapons. This ancient battlefield is a natural treasure trove, Chu Kuangren exclaimed. Suddenly, a strange fluctuation came from his yin and yang ring. Puzzled, he took out a wooden box and opened it. What he saw was the source of ferocious qi rumbling inside. What's going on? Just as Chu Kuangren was puzzled, he suddenly felt an extremely violent murderous intent coming from behind him. His expression changed slightly as he unsheathed the long sword at his waist. A sword ray slashed towards his back. The sword ray collided with a saber ray that was condensed from ferocious qi. It exploded in the void and set off a terrifying shockwave. Even Chu Kuangren could not help but take a few steps back. This energy belongs to a sage. He sensed that the ferocious qi contained a surge of sage Taoist rhyme. Not far away, a tormented soul with a black longsword in its hand and a body shrouded in black ferocious qi was staring at him. Kill, kill, give me the innate ferocious qi. As the tormented soul murmured, the ferocious qi on its body became denser and denser. Then it charged towards Chu Kuangren. With a swing of its long sword, the pitch-black sword ray almost covered all the light in the world. A ferocious and domineering Taoist rhyme locked onto Chu Kuangren. Facing a tormented soul with the combat strength of a sage, Chu Kuangren did not dare to be careless. He swung his descendant self-sword and a majestic purple sword ray shot out. The collision of the 2 energies caused the void to rumble again. 4 seasons sword formation. Chu Kuangren took out the sacred emerald sword case. One by one, The longswords flew out and quickly formed into an incredibly mysterious Four Seasons sword formation. Within the sword formation, the four seasons alternated and the power of nature manifestation erupted. Compared to a year ago, Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level had reached the late-stage honorable realm. He was only a step away from becoming an honorable. The sword formation that he had cast was so powerful that it killed the sage-level tormented soul in just a dozen breaths' time. Accompanied by a piercing howl, the sage-level tormented soul turned into smoke and dissipated, leaving behind only a black mist. Another source of ferocious qi. Chu Kuangren frowned as he grabbed the source of ferocious qi in his hand. Compared to the source of ferocious qi that he obtained from purging the million-strong tormented army, this source of ferocious qi was much smaller. As if he had a stroke of luck, he placed this source of ferocious qi into the wooden box and merged it with another source of ferocious qi. In an instant, that source of ferocious qi flew into Chu Kuangren's body. Then a message exploded in his mind. Infallible tormented physique. It's the infallible tormented physique, one of the top 10 physiques among the 3,000 physiques. Chu Kuangren was surprised. It turned out that this source of ferocious qi had another name, the innate ferocious qi. This innate ferocious qi had many magical uses, and the most powerful one was that it could allow one to cultivate the infallible tormented physique. Moreover, it was the kind of infallible tormented physique that could be directly mastered. Once such a physique was mastered, even a sage could be killed easily. Chapter 245. However, I've only integrated 2 surges of innate ferocious qi, which is only the initial stage of the infallible tormented physique. My progress is about 3%. So I still have a long way to go before I can achieve full mastery, Chu Kuangren murmured. However, he was not in a hurry. Based on the information contained in the innate ferocious qi, the ancient battlefield's core area had nurtured many surges of innate ferocious qi over the years. As long as he slowly collected them, he could eventually achieve full mastery of the infallible tormented physique. Of course, other than him, the tormented souls in the core area were also interested in the innate ferocious qi. They were tormented souls, so the innate ferocious qi was extremely useful to them. It could even help them develop spiritual intelligence. Chu Kuangren could not help but think of the white-robed general. Could he be a tormented soul that had developed spiritual intelligence? He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Then he continued to search the ancient battlefield's core area, using his treasure locating skill to collect innate ferocious qi. The treasure locating skill could not find some of the innate ferocious qi that had already been integrated, but there were still ownerless innate ferocious qi in the ancient battlefield. Chu Kuangren spent the next 3 days in the ancient battlefield's core area, and he managed to collect a few surges of innate ferocious qi. However, none of them were as concentrated as the one he obtained when he purified the million-strong tormented army. Nevertheless, he managed to push his infallible tormented physique to 5%, increasing his combat strength. Another surge of innate ferocious qi. Using his treasure locating skill, Chu Kuangren found a surge of innate ferocious qi 3,000 kilometers away from him. So he immediately rushed over. However, before he could get close, he sensed a terrifying energy fluctuation. Someone was fighting at the location of the innate ferocious qi. He slowed down, hit his aura, and cautiously approached. This was the ancient battlefield's core area, where danger lurked everywhere. The energy fluctuation he sensed was definitely at the level of a sage. He did not dare to be too conspicuous in this place. When he got closer to the center of the energy fluctuation, he noticed 2 figures fighting. Terrifying ferocious qi that contained sage Taoist rhymes were violently clashing against each other, causing the void to tremble. When he looked closer, he realized that one of the 2 figures was an old man in a black robe, and the other was a huge ape with red eyes and black fur all over its body. You're just a mindless tormented soul. Even if you have the combat strength of a sage, how can you fight me? The black-robed old man harumphed coldly and punched out. A terrifying Taoist rhyme erupted from his skinny body, mixing with the baleful aura to form a gigantic fist that smashed the ape into the ground. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat as he witnessed this scene from the shadows. This black-robed old man was also a tormented soul. However, he possessed intelligence. How many strands of innate ferocious chi had he fused with? If he could absorb the innate ferocious chi in his body, then his infallible tormented body would definitely make great progress. Thinking of this, he secretly compared the strength of both sides. Sages were divided into ordinary sages, great sages, and king sages. Even within the same realm, there were still differences in strength. Therefore, the sages roughly divided each realm into 7 steps. First step sage, second step sage. First step great sage, second step great sage. The first step was the most ordinary, while the 7th step was the most powerful. Based on Chu Kuangren's senses, this black-robed old man's combat strength was roughly equivalent to a 3-step sage, which was slightly stronger than the Morong clan's sage. However, he was able to kill the saint of the Morong clan a year ago. What more a year later? I can win, Chu Kuangren thought to himself. After the black-robed old man killed the ape-tormented soul and obtained the innate ferocious chi, Chu Kuangren made his move. He took out the sacred emerald sword case and 365 swords flew out. What? The black-robed old man was shocked. He did not expect to be ambushed so suddenly. Faced with the 4-seasoned sword formation that was filled with majestic sword chi and Taoist rhymes, the black-robed old man hurriedly unleashed a punch with his ferocious chi. The black fist landed on the sword formation and shattered the sword chi. However, the sword scattered in all directions and surrounded the black-robed old man. D****. The energy of this sword formation is very strong. The black-robed old man instantly determined that he was no match for this sword formation, so he immediately released a wisp of black ferocious chi from his fingertip. Before the sword formation was fully formed, he slipped out of the gap and flew far away. He then looked at the sword formation's owner. When he saw the owner's face, not only was he shocked by his appearance, but he was also shocked by his identity. This energy, is it a living person? A living person has entered the ancient battlefield's core area, and his cultivation level is only at the honorable realm. The black-robed old man found it hard to believe. An honorable could activate a sword formation of this level and enter the ancient battlefield's core area. Young lad, this must be your first time in the core area. Do you know that there are 3 beings in the core area that you must not provoke? My master is one of them, so you better kill. Before the black-robed old man could finish his sentence, Chu Kuangren had already activated the 4-seasoned sword formation and unleashed its most terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme. Chu Kuangren could tell that the black-robed old man was trying to buy time, although he did not know when he had called for backup. However, given the current situation, he needed to end this battle quickly. The 4-seasoned sword formation unleashed its full power, and the terrifying and mysterious sword chi suppressed the black-robed old man within a few breaths. D****. Young lad, if you dare to kill me, I will definitely. The black-robed old man's eyes were filled with fear. The power of this sword formation was more terrifying than he had imagined. Before he could finish his sentence, the 4 seasons within the sword formation began to rotate, and the sun and moon alternated. The power of nature then transformed into a multicolored greatsword that smashed down. With a boom, the terrifying sword chi swept out, and the black-robed old man was instantly smashed into pieces by the greatsword. When the sword chi dissipated, Chu Kuangren rushed into the sword formation and collected the remaining innate ferocious chi in the air. The concentration of the innate ferocious chi was more than what he had collected in the past few days. He estimated that it could at least boost his infallible tormented physique to about 10%. He kept the innate ferocious chi and was about to leave. But at this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura immediately locked onto him, and a black finger stretched across the sky. The surging ferocious chi swept through the clouds and shook the heavens and earth. Even Chu Kuangren could not help but be shocked by this attack. The Descendant Self sword was unsheathed from his waist, and the 6 supreme foundation levels within his body radiated with a dazzling divine light. The golden jade body activated, the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, and the ferocious chi from the infallible tormented physique were activated. The purple sword ray was boundless, and it contained a surge of Emperor's aura. The sword collided with the giant finger that was coming at him. The two energies entangled and collided, forming a terrifying shockwave that even Chu Kuangren could not help but be pushed back hundreds of feet. His expression was extremely solemn. The owner of that giant finger was definitely the strongest enemy he had ever encountered. He took out a jade talisman and was ready to crush it. That was one of the prizes he had obtained in the past year. It was called the Great Shift Talisman, which contains spatial energy and could instantly teleport him hundreds of thousands of miles away. That was also one of the reasons why he dared to enter the core area. Even if he encountered any danger that he could not resist, he could still leave at any time. Chapter 246. Chu Kuangren stared into the distance. A 3-meter-tall figure stepped through the air, his body emanating a murderous aura that was many times stronger than the black-robed elders. It was a middle-aged man with a dignified face. His 3-meter-tall body made him look like a giant. Coupled with his terrifying ferocious qi, Chu Kuangren felt an immense pressure that he had never experienced before. Runes of the Great Tao circulated in his eyes as the Eye of Revelation activated. Giant Tormented Sage Monarch, one of the 3 kings of the ancient battlefield. He's a tormented spirit formed from the combination of the ancient battlefield's baleful aura and the resentment of the sages when they died. He contains a large amount of innate baleful aura, 10 times more than ours. 10 times. If he absorbed 10 times the innate ferocious qi, he could push his infallible tormented body to more than 50%. Of course, while his thoughts were plentiful, reality was harsh. His opponent was a Saint King, and with his meager cultivation level, he was no match for him. I can't believe there's a sage ruler in the ancient battlefield. TSK, what a surprise, Chu Kuangren muttered. However, after giving it some thought, it made sense. After all, this was the ancient battlefield, one of the 10 great forbidden areas of Firmament Star. It wouldn't be too much to have any existences, right? Kid, as a venerable, it's not easy for you to have such strength. I'm afraid you're also a famous figure in the outside world. Giant Fiend Sage Emperor Chu Kuangren said. Then murderous intent shot out from his eyes. But this is the ancient battlefield. You killed my subordinates and stole my innate ferocious qi. Based on these 2 points, no one in this world can save you. After saying that, he raised his hand, and a murderous aura circulated on his fingertips. An incomparably terrifying sage Taoist rhyme circulated. Chu Kuangren judged that he might not be able to withstand that finger attack. If he took it head-on, he could only rely on his immortal body to recover. Just as he was about to crush the greater teleportation talisman and leave, a black spear suddenly flew towards him like a bolt of lightning. That spear had locked onto Giant Torment Sage King. Giant Tormented Sage's expression froze, and his eyes were filled with fear. The finger that was supposed to be aimed at Chu Kuangren landed on the spear instead. With a boom, a terrifying power erupted. The void was almost distorted. The Sage King-level Taoist rhyme collided with each other, and it was incomparably terrifying. Under this impact, Giant Torment Sage Monarch's huge body was pushed back a few steps, and the black spear was sent flying. In the end, it was caught by a fair arm. Looking towards the direction of the spear, Chu Kuangren saw a familiar figure. He was dressed in a long white robe and his face was covered by a mask, revealing only a pair of deep, pitch-black eyes that were devoid of any emotion. This person was the legend of the ancient battlefield, the white-robed general. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation when he saw this person again. Bian, the former general of the Tranquil Kingdom, one of the 3 kings of the ancient battlefield, also known as the White-Robed General, a legend passed down by the adventurers. Due to the innate ferocious aura that entered his physical body after his death, he's now a living dead that's somewhere between a tormented soul and a human. The innate malevolent qi in his body is 10 times stronger than mine. A series of messages came in. Some of Chu Kuangren's doubts were finally answered. No wonder this person saluted me after I released the millions of tormented souls. It turned out that this person was really a general of the Yin Kingdom. White-robed general, why did you attack? Giant Torment Sage ruler questioned the white-robed general with fear in his eyes. Among the 3 kings of the ancient battlefield, The white-robed general was the weakest. He was alone, but no one dared to look down on him. The other two kings were even more fearful of him. This person was the most unique existence among the three kings. He was neither a tormented soul nor a human, but somewhere in between. His combat strength was terrifying. "You can't kill this person," the white-robed general said. His voice was very magnetic, with a hint of coldness. "Why?" Giant Torment Sage Ruler was a little surprised. The white-robed general had been wandering around the ancient battlefield for many years. Apart from fighting for innate ferocious chi, he had never taken the initiative to intervene in anything. The other two sage rulers also turned a blind eye to this, but they did not expect the white-robed general to attack for Chu Kuangren today. "I owe him a favor," the white-robed general said. Giant Torment Sage Ruler was stunned. After all, the white-robed general was no weaker than him. What could Chu Kuangren have done for him to be indebted to him? "You've released the souls of my soldiers, and I'm deeply grateful for that. Take this with you. Once you're out of the core area, they won't be able to do anything to you." The white-robed general took out a black crystal and said. Giant Torment Sage Ruler's eyes widened when he saw that black crystal. That's an innate ferocious crystal." "I can't believe you have an innate ferocious crystal. White-robed general, are you crazy? How can you give something like this to an honorable?" Giant Torment Sage Ruler could not control his emotions and roared. He looked at the innate ferocious crystal with greed in his eyes. The fact that a sage ruler would be so moved showed how precious this innate ferocious crystal was. Chu Kuangren looked at the white-robed general in surprise before he kept the innate ferocious enchantment. The moment he received the innate ferocious crystal, his expression froze. He finally understood why the giant torment sage ruler would lose his composure. The innate ferocious chi contained within the innate ferocious crystal. It was comparable to the total amount in giant torment sage ruler's body. "One day. Wait for me for a day once you're out of the core area. If I don't find you within a day, you may leave on your own," the white-robed general said. "All right." Chu Kuangren nodded. After that, he turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. Not long after he left, an incredibly terrifying aura erupted from behind him. Two surges of energy that could shake half of the ancient battlefield collided, and it was as if the heavens and earth were about to shatter. Chu Kuangren cast the phantom light strike at an extremely fast speed. Like a stream of light, he quickly headed out of the core area. "I'm finally out." Ancient battlefield inner zone. Chu Kuangren had just left the core area. He stopped at the edge of the core area and peered inside. Countless ferocious tormented souls were roaring at him. These were the tormented souls that the giant torment sage ruler had sent to hunt him down. There were even a few sage-level existences among them. If it were not for his powerful strength and his phantom light strike, which specialized in speed, he would have been torn to shreds by these tormented souls. Although he would recover, it was still very painful. As expected, these tormented souls can't leave the core area. Chu Kuangren looked at the tormented souls that could only roar at him from afar. Any one of these tormented souls in the inner zone would be at the level of the inner zone's 10 tormented. Unfortunately, they were trapped in the core area. There seems to be some kind of restriction. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued, and he began to study why these tormented souls could not leave the core area. Gradually, he discovered something. The ferocious chi on these tormented souls was connected to the earth chi in the core area. The stronger the ferocious chi, the closer the connection to the earth chi. It was because of this connection that they could not leave the core area. They were like earthbound souls. The tormented souls in the inner zone and the outer zone don't have this characteristic. It seems like it's because of the Sage War that the Eternal Sage Ruler mentioned. That Sage War set up a huge formation. It must be that formation that changed the characteristics of the ancient battlefield's core area's earth chi. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Chapter 247. Ancient Battlefield Inner Circle. Chu Kuangren fiddled with a black crystal in his hand. This crystal was irregularly shaped, and it contained a dense amount of innate ferocious chi. It was more than 10 times more than the amount in Chu Kuangren's body. What a treasure! Chu Kuangren smirked. If he could absorb the innate ferocious crystal, he would be able to push his infallible tormented body to the greater success stage and above. At that time, the combat power that he would be able to unleash would be extremely terrifying. Coupled with other techniques, ordinary sages would not be a match for him at all. However, there was still a huge gap between them and the likes of Giant Torment Sage King. Even though his innate ferocious aura was similar to Giant Fiend Sage Monarch's after merging with the innate ferocious crystal, Giant Fiend Sage Monarch had spent countless years in the ancient battlefield and absorbed countless ferocious auras. It wasn't as simple as possessing innate ferocious aura. Why isn't the White Robe General out yet? Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked at the ancient battlefield's core area. At this moment, a strong wave of murderous aura came from behind him. A saber light that was as fast as a meteor suddenly swept over. Chu Kuangren retaliated with a backhand slap and activated the Human Mountain Stamp. A violent surge of Human Mountain energy forcefully shattered the saber ray. He looked into the distance and saw a tormented soul wielding a long saber flying towards him. It was one of the Inner Zone's 10 tormented, the saber wielder. Other than the wielder saber, there was also a tormented spirit in the shape of a tiger, and a huge black worm that was squirming on the ground like a small hill. They were the tiger fiend and insect fiend of the Inner Zone's 10 ferocious beasts. Other than that, there were also a large number of high-level tormented souls. Chu Kuangren was stunned for a moment. Why are there so many tormented souls? Suddenly, he came back to his senses and looked at the innate ferocious crystal in his hand. Was it attracted by the innate ferocious crystal? The innate ferocious chi was undoubtedly a great opportunity for tormented souls, as it could even help them develop sentience. Not to mention this crystal that contained a strong innate ferocious aura. He guessed that all the tormented souls in the Inner Zone were rushing towards him. Chu Kuangren tossed the innate ferocious crystal into the air twice before he kept it into his yin and yang ring. He smiled and said, "How dare a bunch of puny fiends act so presumptuously?" Even the sage-level tormented souls in the core zone could not do anything to him, let alone the tormented souls in the Inner Zone. The anomaly of the tormented souls in the inner circle had attracted the attention of countless adventurers, especially since they had just experienced the terrifying scene of the million-strong tormented army. Now that he saw the tormented souls acting strangely, he could not help but feel a little terrified. What's going on? Have these tormented souls gone mad? It can't be. Don't tell me they're going to be like the million-strong tormented army and charge out of the ancient battlefield to wreak havoc on the world? The ancient battlefield has been quiet for so many years. It's only been a few days. Why are there so many strange occurrences? Something's not right. Look, the tormented souls are heading towards the ancient battlefield's core area. What's going on? Let's go take a look. Some cultivators pondered for a moment, and then they couldn't restrain their curiosity, and intended to head over to see exactly what had caused the baneful spirits to move. It didn't take long for them to approach the central area. All those who dared to come here possessed considerable strength, and the weakest amongst them was at the Exalt realm. Look, there's a person over there. Someone in the crowd exclaimed. A white dot appeared in their vision, and that white dot was the target of countless tormented souls. That white dot belonged to a person. It was a man dressed in a white, wide-sleeved robe with a magnificent longsword hanging from his waist. His aura was ethereal and otherworldly. It's Chu Kuangren. Someone in the crowd recognized Chu Kuangren. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Why is he here? Wait a minute. He seems to be the target of these tormented souls. What did he do to make so many tormented souls target him? Look, those are the tormented saber tormented, tormented insect tormented, tormented giant demonic tormented, and a few others from the Inner Zone's 10 tormented. I can't believe these terrifying existences are here. Can Chu Kuangren handle them all by himself? The tormented souls had gathered in groups, and there were even countless high-level tormented souls among them. Almost all of the Inner Zone's 10 tormented were present as well. Their ferocious chi swept across the area, and their formation was not any weaker than the million-strong tormented army from before. Compared to them, Chu Kuangren seemed very small and insignificant. Don't you guys forget that he's Chu Kuangren. One of the cultivators took a deep breath and said in a serious tone. The others fell silent upon hearing that. If it were any other cultivator standing in front of these tormented souls, or even if it were an army of tens of thousands of cultivators, they would not think that they had any chance of winning. However, Chu Kuangren was different. He alone could defeat an army of tens of thousands. Everyone stared at Chu Kuangren, wanting to see how he would deal with them. However, he did something that shocked everyone. He gently raised his hand, and the sand on the ground floated up before him before it condensed into a chair. Just like that, Chu Kuangren leisurely sat on the chair as the countless tormented souls approached him. His action shocked many of the cultivators at the scene. After all, they were already so frightened by the countless tormented souls' ferocious chi that their faces turned pale just by looking at them. However, Chu Kuangren remained so calm even when facing these tormented souls. He's actually sitting down. Some of them said in disbelief. Some of them rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were hallucinating. At that moment, something even more shocking happened. Chu Kuangren sat on the sand chair and snapped his fingers. Then surges of sword chi emerged from his body and turned into clones. These clones were formed from sword chi and looked exactly like Chu Kuangren. Sword chi and Taoist rhymes surrounded their bodies. What technique is this? Oh my god, there are so many clones. Everyone was in disbelief. However, the scene in front of them was very real. Chu Kuangren sat on the sand chair and cast the sword chi transformation technique to form 200 clones that charged towards the countless tormented souls in front of him. These 200 sword chi clones formed a terrifying sword chi defensive line. For a moment, not a single tormented soul could break through it. I'm waiting for someone anyway, so I might as well play with you guys. Chu Kuangren sat on the sand chair and crossed his legs as he said. Perhaps he felt that the 200 sword chi clones were not that powerful. He took out the sacred emerald sword case and threw out one longsword after another. With the addition of the sword chi clones and the treasured swords, Chu Kuangren's combat strength increased tremendously. In the air, the cultivators who had just arrived were dumbfounded. It was their first time witnessing a battle like this. Chu Kuangren was sitting comfortably while he sent out hundreds of sword chi clones to sweep the battlefield. So this is the peerless Chu Kuangren? What kind of terrifying strength is this? By the heavens, I thought one of his sword chi clones could easily kill me. I can't believe he can create hundreds of them. Is he still human? Everyone was dumbfounded. Roar! One of the inner zone 10 tormented, the tormented saber wielder, let out a furious roar and charged towards Chu Kuangren. Not only the tormented saber wielder, but the other inner zone 10 tormented, had also broken through the defensive line. After all, there was a limit to the strength of 200 sword chi clones, no matter how strong they were. The inner zone 10 tormented were honorable supremes after all. Is Chu Kuangren's real body going to attack? I think so. With the tormented saber wielder as the leader, the inner zone 10 tormented charged towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's body moved a little on the sand chair. Just when everyone thought he was going to get up to fight the inner zone 10 tormented, they saw that he was still sitting there. All he did was move his but a little. He slowly raised his right hand and gently pressed it towards the inner zone 10 tormented. In the void, a terrifying spiritual power mixed with earth chi formed a majestic godly mountain that suddenly pressed down on the tormented saber wielder and the other inner zone 10 tormented. Boom! The ground erupted with a loud explosion and shook. Chapter 248. Boom! A terrifying explosion erupted from the ground. The entire ground shook as the majestic godly mountain descended from the sky, its violent energy stirring up a sandstorm. When the godly mountain dissipated, the tormented saber wielder, tormented insect, and the other inner zone 10 tormented had already turned into smoke. They had all been destroyed by Chu Kuangren with a single slap. Everyone gulped. What else could they say when they were destroyed with a single slap? Those are the inner zone 10 tormented. Even an honorable supreme would not dare to underestimate them. Yet they were destroyed with a single slap? F***ck, his strength is too terrifying. This guy is a monster. None of the known sage orthodoxies sect leaders have the same combat strength as Chu Kuangren, right? D***. No wonder he's able to kill a sage. Chu Kuangren yawned as he sat on the sand chair. Even if it was to kill time, these tormented souls were just too weak. He could not even feel the slightest bit of interest in them. Suddenly, he felt a familiar ferocious chi fluctuation behind him and smirked. Someone interesting is here. He slowly got up. Then, a surge of compassionate Taoist rhyme emanated from his body, and a Buddhist light surged out from his body in all directions. Amidst the Buddhist light, a giant golden Buddha stood between the heavens and the earth. In an instant, golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and Sanskrit chants filled the void. Countless tormented souls melted under the Buddhist light like snow under the scorching sun. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. The crowd of cultivators was shocked when they saw this. Some of them had seen the Tathagata rebirth mantra before, but they were still shocked when they saw this majestic ancient Buddha again. How did he create this Buddha? It's too powerful. This technique is too terrifying. The Thunder Temple is the most respected Buddhist sect in the Azure Dragon domain, but even they do not have such a terrifying technique. There's an emperor's aura. This is an emperor technique. Where did this guy get so many powerful cultivation techniques from? I've never heard of it in the Black Heaven sect before. In the Firmament Star, sage ruler techniques were already very rare. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, had one emperor technique after another. How were the other cultivators supposed to survive? Look, someone is coming out from the core region. Everyone was immersed in the shock brought about by the Tathagata rebirth mantra. At this moment, someone cried out in surprise, pulling everyone back from their thoughts and looking in the direction of the core region. Over there really was a figure wearing a white robe and holding a spear in his hand. His face was covered with a mask as he walked over. The core zone had always been the most dangerous place in the ancient battlefield, but no one had ever seen anyone walk out of it. Today was the first time he had done so. Not only that, but the person who walked out shocked everyone because they were all too familiar with this person's appearance. White robe, long spear, face armor. Wasn't this the white robe general that the adventurers had been talking about? The white robe general. It's the white robe general. Oh my God, this ghost story is real. There really are white robe generals in this world. Everyone exclaimed endlessly with shock, and they stared fixedly at the white robe general. After Chu Kuangren had used the Tathagata rebirth mantra to eliminate all the tormented souls, he retracted his Buddhist light and turned to look at the white robe general. He smiled faintly, and with a wave of his hand, a sand chair appeared in front of him. "Senior, please take a seat." The White Robe General was the Tranquil Kingdom's general from tens of thousands of years ago, and his strength was comparable to a sage ruler. Hence, it was not wrong to address him as senior. The White Robe General nodded slightly, and sat in front of Chu Kuangren. The crowd of cultivators was even more dumbfounded when they saw the two of them sitting together. They could not understand how Chu Kuangren and the White Robe General got to know each other. "Senior, did you save me because of the million-strong tormented army?" Chu Kuangren asked directly after he took his seat. Although he already knew the answer, he still asked anyway. After all, there was no better way to start a conversation than this. "That's right." The White Robe General nodded. "I used to be their general. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Tranquil Kingdom and the Lu Kingdom went to war. In order to win, the Tranquil Kingdom's king did not hesitate to steal the source of ferocious chi. Through a sacrificial ritual, he turned a million-strong army into tormented souls. I tried to stop him, but I failed. Then how did you end up like this?" "I was sentenced to death by the Tranquil Kingdom's king because of this, but my body was brought here by the Lu Kingdom's princess. She used some kind of secret technique to attract the source of ferocious chi into my body in an attempt to resurrect me. However, even though my consciousness was restored, my body could not move. It was only 1,000 years later that I ended up like this. It was the Lu Kingdom's princess who saved you." "Yes, she's my lover." Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up when he heard that. He immediately imagined a tragic love story of a general falling in love with the enemy kingdom's princess. "After I awakened, I've been absorbing ferocious chi in the core area for almost 1,000 years. That's why I'm connected to the earth chi here. Although I'm not trapped here like the other tormented souls, I can't be too far away. All these years, I've been wandering around this ancient battlefield, trying to find the million-strong tormented army, but to no avail. It was only when the Lu Kingdom reappeared a few days ago that I sensed something. After that, I saw you purging them, the white-robed general said. I see. What about this then? Chu Kuangren took out the innate ferocious crystal. You've merged with the source of ferocious chi, which is the innate ferocious chi, and formed the infallible tormented physique. This innate ferocious crystal will be of great use to you. This is a thank you gift for purging the army. In that case, it would be impolite of me to reject it. Chu Kuangren had no intention of rejecting it. Besides that, I have one more thing that I need your help with. Please do tell, Senior. I can sense that my bloodline is still alive. I hope you can help me find them and take care of them, the white-robed general said. Senior, if your bloodline is still alive, could it be that the princess isn't dead? She's probably dead. Otherwise, she would have come looking for me. At the mention of that, a hint of sorrow seeped out of the white-robed general's body that was filled with ferocious chi. Although she's dead, I can't rule out the possibility that she escaped before the Lu Kingdom was destroyed, leaving behind our bloodline. Otherwise, without the Lu clan's ancient sword, how could anyone break through the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom? The Lu clan's ancient sword? That's right. The Lu clan's ancient sword is required to enter the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom, and only the Lu Kingdom's royal family owns this ancient sword. Hence, if the royal family didn't survive that war, how could the Lu clan's ancient sword still be around? It seems that Shang Han and the others entered the Lu Kingdom through the Lu clan's ancient sword. So where did they get the Lu clan's ancient sword from? Chu Kuangren thought to himself. He did not agree to the white-robed general's request right away. After all, the chances of finding a bloodline in this vast sea of people were too slim. If you help me find my bloodline, I'll help you hunt tormented souls in the ancient battlefield, and collect the innate ferocious chi, the white-robed general said. Ahem, actually, since you've helped me so much, it's only natural for me to do something for you. Just leave the search for your bloodline to me, Chu Kuangren said with a smile. All right then. The white-robed general took out a jade pendant and handed it to Chu Kuangren. This is a token of love between me and the princess. If it's my bloodline, this jade pendant will react. Perhaps it can help you. Chu Kuangren took the jade pendant. I'll do my best. Farewell. The white-robed general got up and walked towards the core area behind him. Tormented souls gave way wherever he went. It was obvious that they were very afraid of the white-robed general. Chapter 249. Chu Kuangren kept the jade pendant and left the ancient battlefield. Along the way, he did not encounter any tormented souls. It was obvious that most of the tormented souls were attracted by the innate ferocious crystal and were destroyed by him. However, as long as the ancient battlefield's resentment and ferocious chi did not dissipate, the tormented souls would be endless. All it would take was some time for them to reform. Master, you're back. Back at Sunsoil City, Lan Yu's eyes lit up when he saw Chu Kuangren. Yes. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. In the next few days, he began to refine the innate ferocious crystal. This item was extraordinary as it contained an extremely dense amount of innate ferocious chi. After refining it, his infallible tormented physique had made great progress. On this day, he had completely refined the innate ferocious crystal. A terrifying ferocious chi erupted from his body and rushed into the sky. Its domineering aura swept across half of Sunsoil City. All the cultivators were shocked when they sensed the ferocious chi. What a terrifying ferocious chi. There's no resentment from the tormented souls in this ferocious chi. It's not a tormented soul, not a tormented soul? Then what kind of existence could it be? I've never seen such a pure ferocious chi in the ancient battlefield for so many years. Where did it come from? The ferocious chi swept across the sky and waves of violent Taoist rhymes circulated in the void. It was as if everyone could hear a roar from the ancient times that was filled with boundless ferocious qi and battle intent. After a while the phenomenon slowly dissipated. Inside the inn, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes and sensed the endless ferocious qi that was surging within his body. He smiled in satisfaction. 60%. Now that my infallible tormented physique has reached 60% completion, even if I don't use any other techniques, this strength alone is enough to fight a sage. As expected of the top 10 Taoist physiques among the 3,000 physiques, Chu Kuangren murmured. Not counting his other trump cards, he now had 3 Taoist physiques: the golden jade body, the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, and the infallible tormented physique. It was a terrifying thing for a person to have 3 Taoist physiques, especially the last 2, which were supreme Taoist physiques. In addition, he had an incomplete 10,000 techniques returned to 1 Tao physique. With just these 3.5 Taoist physiques, he might not be invincible in the world, but among the younger generation in the firmament star, no one could match him. This won't do. I'm now the Black Heaven sect leader, and my status is much higher than those kids. Yet, I keep thinking about comparing myself to the younger generation. TSK, I still need to improve my mindset. Chu Kuangren smiled. No one in the younger generation could compare to him. His goal should be to become a saint. Let's start today's lottery draw. Congratulations! You have obtained the Starlight Skill Manual, Exorcist Palm. Extract. Although a starlight technique was not essential to Chu Kuangren, it was not a bad thing for him to learn more about it. After retrieving the technique, Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Just like the Tathagata rebirth mantra, the giant palm of exorcism was also a Buddhist technique. Looks like I can no longer remove the label of a Buddhist cultivator. Chu Kuangren smiled and shook his head. Lan Yu, pack up. We're leaving. Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu. He was almost done exploring the ancient battlefield, and he had obtained all the opportunities of fortune he wanted. The infallible tormented physique was probably the biggest opportunity of fortune in the ancient battlefield. All right. Lan Yu nodded. Both of them planned to leave. However, they bumped into Wu Yi at the entrance. Teacher. Wu Yi bowed to Chu Kuangren. Yes, Master Wu Yi. I'm afraid we can't exchange Buddhist techniques with you today. We'll be leaving now, Chu Kuangren said. Leaving? Where are you going, teacher? Just for a walk. Wu Ye's eyes lit up. Teacher, it's like this. The abbot sent me a message, asking me to invite you to the Thunder Sound Temple for a chat. If you don't mind, could you come with me to the temple? Master Hui Xian invited me. Hui Xian was the current abbot of the Thunder Temple. Chu Kuangren pondered for a while and said, sure. Since he had nothing better to do, he might as well visit the largest Buddhist sacred ground in the Azure Dragon domain. He heard that the vegetarian food at the Thunder Temple was pretty good. They left the ancient battlefield. Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, and Wu Yi headed to the Thunder Temple. The Thunder Temple was quite a distance away from the ancient battlefield. To speed up, Chu Kuangren took out the elusive mirage. Wu Yi could not help but gulp when he saw the gigantic elusive mirage in front of him. Was the Black Heaven sect leader this grand? In less than a day, the few of them arrived at the Thunder Temple. A few novice monks were sweeping the fallen leaves in front of the mountain entrance. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. It's dark. Is it going to rain? One of the novice monks looked up at the sky. Then he was shocked. Buddha above, what is this? High up in the sky, the gigantic black elusive mirage soared into the sky, blocking the sunlight with an unparalleled sense of oppression. Then, the elusive mirage turned into a dot of light and disappeared. 3 figures descended from the sky. Senior brother Wu Yi. The novice monk saw Wu Yi among the 3 and greeted him. At that moment, inside the Thunder Temple, in a temple hall, the current abbot of the Thunder Temple, Master Hui Xian, suddenly opened his eyes and smiled. We have a guest. He got up, put on his robe and walked out the door. Under Wu Ye's lead, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu entered the Thunder Temple and looked at the scenery around them with great interest. The ancient temple was located in the middle of the mountain. It was peaceful and tranquil. This is the back mountain of the Thunder Temple, where we usually cultivate. On the other side is the Mahavira Hall and many other temples. It's where worshippers visit. Wu Yi explained to Chu Kuangren. Other than worshippers, very few people came to the Thunder Temple, let alone the back mountain where cultivators gathered. Many monks looked at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu curiously. Who are these two people? They're too good-looking. Could it be that they're bodhisattvas? Ba. The back mountain of the Buddhist sect is a place for cultivation. How can we let a lady in? I recognize her. She's the young emperor Lan Yu. Young emperor? Then it's fine. The one beside her is the Black Heaven sect leader, Chu Kuangren. Why is he here? The monks whispered among themselves. Just then, an old monk in a golden robe walked out and bowed slightly at Chu Kuangren. The Black Heaven sect leader has come to visit personally. I apologize for not being able to welcome you at the door. You're welcome, Master. Wu Yi said that you invited me here. Is there anything I can help you with? Chu Kuangren smiled. We'll talk about this later. Brother Chu, you've come from afar, so I've already ordered someone to prepare a vegetarian meal. We can talk about it after we're done. That's fine too. I've heard that your temple's vegetarian meal is the best in the world. I'll have to try it later. Chu Kuangren smiled. The vegetarian food of the Thundersound Temple was indeed extraordinary. They used spiritual rice that contained spiritual energy, and the condiments were spiritual herbs. Although it looked like they were vegetarian, it was actually very nutritious. Furthermore, the flavor was excellent, and it left a fragrant aftertaste in the mouth and teeth. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu ate a few bowls of it. Brother Chu, I've invited you here mainly because I've heard of your exquisite Buddhist techniques. I'd like to exchange some pointers with you, Hui Xian said after they finished their vegetarian meal. Chapter 250. Cough cough. Chu Kuangren almost spat out the food he had just swallowed when he heard Hui Xian's words. What the hell? Another one wants to have a Buddhist exchange with me? The last time he tried to fool Wu Yi, he almost caused him to go berserk. In the end, Wu Yi benefited from his misfortune, and his Buddhist cultivation greatly improved. However, who knew if he would be so lucky again this time? Although he had the lucky halo, he did not dare to mess around. No matter how lucky he was, he would not be able to stop himself from seeking death. Great Master, you're a famous monk of great virtue. When it comes to Buddhist knowledge, very few people can compare to you. How can I have the ability to communicate with you? You're too humble, Brother Taoist. Wu Yi has already told me everything. I've yet to fully understand the exquisite Buddhist mantras that you taught me. In terms of Buddhist knowledge, I'm afraid I'm far inferior to you. Hui Xian smiled bitterly. He was truly ashamed of his own inferiority. As an abbot and a Buddhist monk of great virtue, he could not compare to a young man in terms of Buddhist cultivation even after so many years of meditation. Hui Xian felt a little ashamed at that thought. However, this was also an opportunity. Like Wu Yi, he had been trapped in a Buddhist Dharma realm for many years and needed someone to guide him through it. That person's Buddhist cultivation must be above him. However, in the Thunder Temple, even the few sages might not be able to match up to him in terms of Buddhist cultivation, let alone the others. Chu Kuangren's appearance gave him hope. When Wu Yi recited the Buddhist mantras that Chu Kuangren had taught him, Hui Xian felt that the bottleneck that had troubled him for so many years had begun to loosen. That was the reason he sought Chu Kuangren out. He hoped that Chu Kuangren could help him break through the bottleneck during their Buddhist exchange. Please enlighten me, Brother Chu. Hui Xian looked at Chu Kuangren with an earnest and sincere gaze. Chu Kuangren felt a headache coming on from Hui Xian's gaze. If he was really proficient in Buddhist techniques, it would not be a problem for him to exchange some pointers with Hui Xian. Unfortunately, he knew nothing about it. All he knew were some random sayings that he had read and heard in his past life. Who knew how useful they would be? It was fine for him to copy some ancient poems, but how could it be that easy to enlighten an honorable monk of great virtue? As long as Brother Chu is willing, I am willing to open the Thunder Temple's Sutra Depository to you. You can read any book you want. Just when Chu Kuangren was about to reject her, Hui Xian suddenly gritted her teeth, and said as if she had made up her mind. Hearing this, the surrounding monks were in an uproar. One had to know that the sutra depository of the Thunder Temple contained many Buddhist scriptures and techniques from ancient times until now. They were extremely precious. He did not expect Hui Xian to be willing to make such a huge sacrifice, just to exchange Buddhist techniques with Chu Kuangren. Upon hearing Hui Xian's words, Chu Kuangren swallowed the words of rejection that were at the tip of his tongue. His eyes lit up as he thought to himself, "Scripture depository?" He wasn't interested in those Buddhist scriptures, but those Buddhist techniques were of some use to him. After all, he still had an incomplete Dharma coalescence Taoist physique. This was a peerless supreme Taoist physique that was even more powerful than the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart and the infallible tormented physique. Once this body was completely formed, it would be extremely useful to him. In order to perfect this Taoist physique, Chu Kuangren had to learn a lot of cultivation techniques to strengthen his understanding of Taoism. Chu Kuangren knew too many cultivation techniques now. He had learned more than 8,000 techniques from the Dharma sect alone. Even so, he was still a little short of perfecting the Dharma physique. Now that Hui Xian was willing to open up the sutra depository for him to read as many Buddhist techniques as he wanted, it was a rare opportunity. "I can exchange Buddhist techniques, but I'm not sure if I can help you, Master," Chu Kuangren said honestly. "It's fine. Whether it succeeds or not, the sutra depository will be open to you." Master Hui Xian smiled. "All right then, let's begin. Please follow me, Brother Chu." Hui Xian brought Chu Kuangren to a large hall. A Buddha statue was enshrined in the hall. In front of the Buddha statue, there were 2 prayer mats. Chu Kuangren and Hui Xian sat down and prepared to start their exchange. News about them had spread throughout the Thunder Temple. When they heard that the abbot wanted to exchange Buddhist techniques with Chu Kuangren, many monks came to watch. Even the Buddhist sage of the Thunder Temple was shocked. Deep within the Thunder Temple, inside a small Buddhist hall, a few old monks were sitting cross-legged in meditation. Suddenly, one of them opened his eyes and said with interest, "Hui Xian wants to have a Buddhist exchange with Chu Kuangren. Interesting. I wonder how high this person's Buddhist attainment is. Let's all go and have a look. This person is indeed surprising." The golden Buddha on the ancient battlefield is enough to prove that his Buddhist techniques are extraordinary. Surges of spiritual thoughts spread out from the small Buddhist hall. At this moment, in the Buddhist hall, Chu Kuangren and Hui Xian sat on the prayer mats. "Brother, please." "Yes." Chu Kuangren nodded and said, "What is Buddha?" "Buddha is the Buddha who does good deeds." That's not bad." Chu Kuangren said. "May I ask, brother, what is Buddha?" Hui Xian looked at Chu Kuangren and asked solemnly, "I am the Buddha." Those words were like a sudden clap of thunder that exploded in the ears of the monks. The Thunder Temple's sage was shocked too. How arrogant. He is the Buddha? What does he think the Buddha is? I thought this person would have some profound insight, but I didn't expect him to spout such shameless words. The Thunder Temple's monks and sages were shocked by Chu Kuangren's declaration of, "I am a Buddha." Then, a wave of anger rose within them. To them, Chu Kuangren's words were an insult to the Buddha. Such an act was infuriating. "Brother Chu, what do you mean by that?" Hui Xian said with a serious look. Obviously, he was also enraged by Chu Kuangren's words. "I am the Buddha. Or should I say, all beings are Buddhas. Buddhas are self-created, and they should not seek external help. My heart is Buddha, and my Buddha is the true Buddha." Those words made everyone fall into deep thought, especially the Thunder Temple's sage. His mind buzzed as if Sanskrit chants were echoing in his mind. Hui Xian's body trembled, and the Buddhist light on his body surged uncontrollably as he fell into a state of enlightenment. What was the Buddha? The Buddha did not refer to a specific existence. The Buddha was just a concept. Cultivating Buddhism and Taoism was all about cultivating one's heart. Everyone had a Buddhist nature. As long as one was enlightened, everyone could say that they were the Buddha. All beings were Buddhas, and the Buddhist Dharma existed in all things. The Buddhist light on Hui Xian's body grew stronger. After a while, He slowly opened his eyes, got up, and bowed to Chu Kuangren. Thank you for your guidance, Brother Chu. You're welcome, Master. Shall we continue? Brother Chu, your Buddhist Dharma cultivation is impressive. Just this question alone has benefited me for the rest of my life. There's no need to continue. Hui Xian said calmly. Chu Kuangren was a little confused. Was it done just like that? Was it that simple? What about the scripture library? Rest assured, Brother Chu. From today onwards, all the books in the scripture library will be open to you. You may read them on your own. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded, very satisfied. He did not expect the exchange to be so simple. Sure enough, a master was indeed a master. Chu Kuangren did not even need to fool him. Chapter 251. The depth of this person's Buddhist Dharma is truly amazing. I'm not as good as him. If this person was born in Buddhism, he would be a Buddhist disciple. Inside the Thunder Temple, a few Buddhist sages were whispering to each other. They were obviously surprised by Chu Kuangren's Buddhist mantras. They had been studying Buddhist Dharma for many years, and they were confident that no one in this world could compare to them in terms of Buddhist Dharma. However, Chu Kuangren's few words had made them feel like they had been enlightened, as if the clouds had parted to reveal the sky. This level of Buddhist Dharma mastery far surpassed theirs. After exchanging some Buddhist Dharma with Master Hui Xian, the latter opened the scripture library for him to look around. Once Chu Kuangren entered, he immediately flipped through the Buddhist techniques without a word. As for the Buddhist scriptures, he did not even look at them. The young monk who brought him in could not help but frown when he saw that. One had to know that the Buddhist cultivation method was very special. If one did not have some understanding of the Buddhist scriptures, it would be very difficult to achieve anything. Chu Kuangren's behavior of directly reading the techniques without reading the Buddhist scriptures was a big taboo in the Thunder Temple. Brother Chu. The young monk was just about to remind him. Then he saw a faint layer of Buddhist light emanating from Chu Kuangren's body. It gathered on his palm and emitted a metallic luster. Is this the Thunder Temple's golden wisdom palm? Hiss. The young monk sucked in a breath of cold air. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to master this cultivation technique in such a short time. What kind of cultivation speed was that? Master, is there anything you want to say? Chu Kuangren looked at the young monk curiously. The young monk swallowed his words of warning and said, Nothing much. I just wanted to say that Brother Chu can read the scriptures in the scripture library. I'll take my leave first. Take care, Master. The young monk bowed before turning around and leaving. He secretly shook his head. Chu Kuangren's Buddhist Dharma mastery was so profound that even the abbot and the others were ashamed of their inferiority. Why would he need to read the Buddhist scriptures? After the young monk left, Chu Kuangren began to read through the various Buddhist techniques in the scripture library. With the help of the meditational clarity attribute, he was able to learn these Buddhist techniques at an incredible speed. Golden Wisdom Palm. Formless Finger of Tribulation. Great Sunlight Demonic Saber. One by one, Chu Kuangren quickly digested the Buddhist techniques. A mysterious Taoist rhyme flowed around his body, and there was even a Buddha's light emanating from him. His entire person looked extremely holy. At the same time, his 10,000 techniques of coalescence Taoist physique was also rapidly absorbing the Taoist rhymes of these Buddhist techniques, and was becoming more and more complete. Thunder Sound Temple, Dharma Institution. The Dharma Hall was the place where the martial monks of the Thunder Temple gathered. These martial monks were the most proficient in combat, and the Dharma Hall's first seat was the most terrifying existence below the sages in the Thunder Temple. In the main hall, an old monk dressed in gray clothes stood in front of everyone. No one dared to breathe loudly. This old monk was the current Dharma Institute's president, Master Sha Xian. Are you saying that our Thunder Temple's Sutra Depository was open to an outsider unconditionally by the abbot? Sha Xian said calmly. Yes, a monk at the side said indifferently. What is Hui Xian doing? The Scripture Depository is the foundation of our Thunder Temple. How can we let an outsider enter? Sha Xian snorted coldly. He had no respect for the abbot at all. One of the martial monks recounted what happened. Chu Kwangren? Buddhist Dharma. Chu Kwangren knows Buddhist Dharma? Even so, opening the scripture depository to an outsider is a ridiculous decision. Sha Xian then got up and walked out of the house. What are you going to do, first seat? I'm going to drag Chu Kwangren out of the scripture depository. Hearing that, the group of martial monks was in an uproar. You can't do that, first seat. Chu Kwangren is the Black Heaven sect leader and an honored guest of the Thunder Temple. Dragging him out of the scripture depository is unacceptable. The crowd immediately tried to stop him. Stand down. However, Sha Xian glared at them coldly, and a terrifying murderous intent erupted from his body. The group of martial monks was shocked and did not dare to step forward. They could only watch as Sha Xian left and headed towards the scripture depository. Quick, go inform the abbot. One of the martial monks hurriedly said. By then, Sha Xian had already arrived at the scripture depository. His body was surging with a violent murderous intent, making him look like a god of death. In front of the scripture depository, Lan Yu frowned. She had been waiting for Chu Kwangren, but she did not expect Sha Xian to suddenly appear. Moreover, it seemed like he did not come with good intentions. It was her first time seeing a monk with such a murderous intent. Chu Kwangren is in there? Sha Xian said calmly, his voice as cold as a rock. That's right. Ask him to come out now. Master will come out when he wants to. Before that, no one can enter unless Master comes out. Lan Yu said indifferently. Her body was already covered with a layer of armor. She realized that the person in front of her was hostile towards Chu Kwangren. Just this point alone was enough for her to prepare for battle. Oh, so you're the legendary young Emperor Lan Yu, Chu Kwangren's follower. Looks like I'll have to go through you first to drag him out. Sha Xian said as a layer of Buddhist light surged from his body. The Buddhist light was bright, but Sha Xian was filled with murderous intent. The combination of these two gave off a very contradictory feeling. However, it was undeniable that Sha Xian was very strong. At least, he had given Lan Yu a lot of pressure. She took out her scepter of light and was ready for battle. Just as the two of them were about to fight, a ray of Buddhist light suddenly shot up into the sky from the scripture library. It transformed into golden Buddhist lotuses in the void, and a wave of compassionate Taoist rhyme emanated. Sha Xian was shocked when he saw it. This Taoist rhyme is the Thunder Temple's sage technique, golden lotus suppressing 1,000 demons. At that moment, another wave of Taoist rhyme emanated from the Buddhist light, and transformed into a Buddhist figure holding a demon-vanquishing pestle. Besides that, another wave of Taoist rhyme circulated in the void and reverberated with waves of Sanskrit chants, causing everyone to subconsciously calm down. Even Sha Xian's murderous intent subconsciously diminished in the face of this Sanskrit chants. Sage technique, golden warrior avatar. Sage technique, calming mantra. Sha Xian looked in the direction of the scripture library in shock. Countless Taoist rhymes manifested in the library. Besides the Thunder Temple's most famous sage techniques, there were also other Buddhist cultivation techniques. Sha Xian was dumbfounded by the strange phenomena that filled the sky. How is this possible? What's going on? Sha Xian stared at the scripture library in disbelief. This must be Brother Chu's doing. At that moment, the Thunder Temple's abbot, Hui Xian's voice rang out from behind Sha Xian. Sha Xian turned around and said, "That's impossible. He just went in not too long ago. How can he release such a Taoist rhyme?" "Nothing is impossible." Hui Xian shook his head. Everyone knows that Brother Chu spent half a day in the Dharma sect trying to understand 8,000 techniques. It's not surprising that he can understand the sage techniques in the scripture library. But isn't this a little too fast? Sha Xian said in a complicated tone. Judging from the Taoist rhyme that Chu Kwangren released, Sha Xian could not understand as much as him even if he spent half his life trying to understand it. Chapter 252. Buddhist light filled the air above the scripture library. All sorts of Buddhist cultivation techniques were displayed in the air, shocking everyone. Sha Xian, the head of the Dharma Institute, looked at the various cultivation techniques and remembered his purpose of coming here. He suddenly felt a sense of disappointment. He came here to drag Chu Kuangren out. After all, the scripture library contained the knowledge that the Thunder Temple had accumulated over the years. However, he suddenly felt that there was no need for that now. Chu Kuangren had already learned all the sage techniques, so what was the point of him going in to drag him out? It was too late. He did not expect Chu Kuangren's level of enlightenment to be this terrifying. It had only been half a day since he entered the scripture library, and he had already learned all the cultivation techniques. Was this guy even human? At that moment, the various transformations in the sky dissipated. A creak was heard. The scripture library's door opened, and Chu Kuangren slowly walked out. Buddhist light circulated around his body and Taoist rhymes manifested. There was an indescribable holiness about him. Coupled with his otherworldly appearance and temperament, he looked like an immortal that attracted the attention of all the monks at the scene. Monks meditated every day, so their mental state was the best. When they saw Chu Kuangren, they still felt their Buddhist heart tremble. It was a feeling of longing for the most beautiful things in the world. It was a human's instinct to pursue beauty. My Buddhist heart is like steel, unshakable. Amitabha. When Sha Xian saw Chu Kuangren, he quickly chanted the name of Buddha. However, his hostility towards Chu Kuangren had unknowingly decreased. Brother Chu's Taoist rhymes. Suddenly, Hui Xian let out a soft gasp. He noticed that Chu Kuangren's Taoist rhymes were a little unusual. It was not only Buddhist Taoist rhymes but also other Taoist rhymes. Sha Xian noticed it as well. After taking a closer look, he gasped in disbelief. Other than Buddhist Taoist rhymes, there were many other Taoist rhymes on Chu Kuangren's body. There were Sword Dao, Fist Dao, Five Ways Dao, Yin-Yang Dao. These countless Taoist rhymes circulated within his body, emanating a divine light. At that moment, Chu Kuangren was like a furnace that combined all these Taoist rhymes into an unparalleled peerless Taoist rhymes. This Taoist rhyme was formed from the fusion of countless Taoist rhymes. Yet, it was as if one could see the shadows of all Taoist rhymes in the world. This is the Dharma Coalescence Tao Physique. The Transcendent Coalescence Taoist Physique ranks third among the 3,000 Taoist physiques, the Supreme Taoist Physique. How many years has it not appeared? Rumor has it that once the 10,000 powers of Coalescence Taoist Physique is mastered, killing a sage will be a piece of cake. It is the most terrifying power in the world. Hui Xian and Sha Xian were both shocked. They knew that Chu Kuangren possessed the exquisite Nine Orifices Sword Heart, which was one of the top 10 Supreme Taoist physiques among the 3,000 physiques. But now there was another transcendent unification Taoist body that was even more terrifying than the exquisite Nine Orifices Sword Heart. It was hard to imagine how terrifying his combat strength would be. The Taoist rhyme on Chu Kuangren's body gradually converged and returned to normal. He slowly walked towards Hui Xian and Sha Xian and smiled. Borrowing the scripture library's books has been a great help to me. Thank you very much, Master. With the help of the meditational clarity attribute, Chu Kuangren quickly learned countless Buddhist techniques. Coupled with the foundation he had previously accumulated, Chu Kuangren finally managed to condense the Transcendent Coalescence Taoist Physique in one fell swoop after studying countless techniques. Although it was not mastered yet, as his cultivation level increased, the power of this Taoist physique would also increase correspondingly. It was the right decision to come to the Thunder Temple, Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Brother Chu, I'm sure it must have taken a lot of effort to study the cultivation techniques. I've already asked the disciples to prepare a guest room for you. You can rest there anytime, Hui Xian said. Thank you, Master. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly and left with Lan Yu. After the two of them left, Hui Xian glanced at Sha Xian and smiled playfully. I heard that you're here to drag Brother Chu out of the scripture library. Why didn't you say anything just now? Sha Xian's face darkened. What do you want me to drag out? That guy has already learned all the techniques and you're still mocking me? What kind of an abbot are you? Sha Xian had a fiery temper and was straightforward with his words. He had grown up together with Hui Xian, so their relationship was not ordinary. Sha Xian was not as respectful to Hui Xian as the other monks and was much more casual with him. Hui Xian knew his old friend well, so he did not blame him. He said, "Do you know what I learned from my Buddhist exchange with Brother Chu today?" "What did you learn?" Sha Xian had heard from the other monks about Hui Xian's Buddhist exchange with Chu Kuangren. However, he did not know the details. To him, Chu Kuangren might be well versed in Buddhist techniques, but he was still an outsider. That was not a reason for him to enter the scripture library as he pleased. "I'm about to ascend, and after this exchange with Brother Chu, I have at least a 70% chance of ascension," Hui Xian said shockingly. Upon hearing this, Sha Xian's expression changed. "What did he say to you? How did he improve your dharmic skills to such an extent?" One should know that the Thunder Temple's cultivation techniques were closely related to one's Buddhist cultivation base. The higher one's Buddhist cultivation base, the more powerful the cultivation technique would be. Initially, when Hui Xian was about to ascend, he only had a 50% chance of success. However, after exchanging Buddhist techniques with Chu Kuangren, he had a 70% chance of success. This 20% was not to be underestimated. There were countless cultivators in the world, but only a handful of them had a 70% chance of ascension. Sha Xian could not believe that Hui Xian had improved so much just by exchanging Buddhist techniques with Chu Kuangren. Hui Xian took out a small booklet and handed it to Sha Xian. "Take a look for yourself." "This is..." Sha Xian took the booklet and flipped it open. The first sentence that entered his eyes was enough to shock him. "All forms are fabricated. If you see that all forms are not, you will see the Tathagata." Just that sentence alone was enough to make Sha Xian gasp in amazement. There were more than 10 more sentences in the booklet. "Did Chu Kuangren tell you all these?" "That's right." Hui Xian nodded. "These were what Wu Yi told me when Chu Kuangren gave him pointers." Sha Xian fell silent. Looking at the booklet in his hand, he felt that it weighed 1,000 tons. If these words were to spread, Chu Kuangren would gain a supreme position in the Buddhist sect. "No wonder you allowed him to enter and leave the scripture library freely." Sha Xian smiled bitterly. "Take this booklet back and study it well. You may be a Buddhist, but your murderous intent is too strong. I hope these words will be of help to you," Hui Xian said. "All right." Sha Xian kept the booklet. After he returned to the Dharma yard, he spent the entire night reading the booklet. There were only about a dozen sentences and about 200 words in the booklet, which could be finished in a single glance. However, Sha Xian spent the entire night reading the booklet carefully. But after an entire night, not only did he not gain anything, his eyes gradually revealed a perplexed look. "I've killed so many people all these years, can I really achieve enlightenment? Lay down my blade and become a Buddha. But if I lay down my blade, who will protect the common people?" The more Sha Xian thought about it, the more confused he became. Chapter 253. Why? Is it really impossible for me to attain enlightenment? I've done so much for Buddhism and the common people. Is it all for naught? Lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. No, I don't want to. In the Dharma yard, Sha Xian's expression kept changing. His eyes revealed his struggle, and the Buddha's light on his body flickered. In the next moment, a strong burst of spiritual energy exploded from his body and turned into a storm, shattering the entire house. The entire Dharma yard was shaken. Countless monks rushed out and looked in the direction of Sha Xian. "What's going on? This aura belongs to the chief. What's wrong with the chief? Is there an enemy attack?" The monks turned pale with fright and rushed toward the source of the killing intent. All they saw was Sha Xian wearing a cloth robe and holding a long saber in his hand. He stood in the ruins and the Buddha's light on his body flickered. "Chief?" one of the monks asked curiously. At this moment, Sha Xian's body began to emit a murderous aura. An old monk sensed that something was wrong and his expression changed. He pulled the monk back and shouted, "Step back." The crowd began to step back. A terrifying saber aura exploded from Sha Xian's body and sent the monks flying. "Kill. I'm not wrong." Sha Xian's eyes were bloodshot. Holding the long saber in his hand, a terrifying saber aura circled around his body and swept toward the monks. Oh no, the chief has gone berserk. What's going on? At this moment, a majestic Buddha's light appeared in the sky and a golden palm print came crashing down with the intention of suppressing Sha Xian. However, Sha Xian slashed at the sky and tore the palm print apart. Hui Xian fell from the sky. He looked at Sha Xian with a solemn expression. What's going on? Why did Sha Xian suddenly go berserk? We don't know either. When we arrived, the chief was already in this state. The monks were also puzzled. Suddenly, Hui Xian saw a small booklet on the ground and pulled it over. His expression changed when he read the contents. This was the booklet that he had given to Sha Xian yesterday. Could this booklet be the reason why Sha Xian suddenly went berserk? Hui Xian could not help but blame himself at this thought. No, we must stop him. A vast Buddhist light surged from Hui Xian's body. If Sha Xian was allowed to continue like this, he would completely turn into a demon. By then, even God Daluo would not be able to save him. Calm Heart Mantra. Hui Xian activated the Thunder Temple's Saint technique. A series of strange Sanskrit sounds reverberated in the air, bringing with it a mysterious Taoist rhyme that attempted to pacify the murderous intent. However, even this sage technique was useless against one's killing intent. His eyes were bloodshot as he gripped the long blade in his hand tightly. He stared at Hui Xian before charging forward and slashing out with a terrifying blade. The saber chi surged and turned into a huge saber shadow that was 100 feet long. Hui Xian put his palms together, and two golden palms appeared out of thin air to clamp down on the saber shadows. Ba, Sha Xian, put down the butcher's knife. Hui Xian's shout was like a clap of thunder. However, the look in Sha Xian's eyes changed. There was a flash of confusion, struggle, and other emotions before his face turned into madness. Kill, kill. If I don't kill all of you devils, I won't put down my blade. He roared as he channeled his spiritual power. The power of his saber chi increased tremendously, and cracks began to appear on the two giant palms formed by Hui Xian's Buddhist light. If this goes on, Sha Xian will definitely fall into the demonic path. Hui Xian's expression was extremely solemn. At that moment, a golden palm attack came from beside him and landed on Sha Xian, sending him flying dozens of feet away. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu walked up to him. Great Master, what's going on? Chu Kuangren asked curiously. Sha Xian has fallen into the demonic path, Hui Xian said. Kill, kill. Sha Xian, who was sent flying by the palm attack, charged forward again. He gripped the long blade in his hand tightly as a terrifying murderous intent erupted from his body. His eyes were bloodshot as he charged towards Chu Kuangren and the others. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and slapped the void. A golden palm appeared out of thin air, wrapped in a majestic Buddhist light and a majestic Taoist rhyme. And it slapped towards Sha Xian. Giant palm of exorcism. To the monks, Sha Xian, who was extremely powerful, was once again sent flying by Chu Kuangren's simple move. This kind of power caused everyone present to be moved. It's another Buddhist technique that I've never seen before. Hui Xian could not help but exclaim. This made him even more certain that Chu Kuangren was a powerful Buddhist cultivator. Sha Xian, who was sent flying, spat out a mouthful of blood. His bones and tendons began to crack, and his Buddhist light dimmed. The murderous intent in his eyes was greatly weakened due to the sudden injury. Seeing that, Chu Kuangren's Taoist rhyme manifested, Buddhist light surged, and Sanskrit chants appeared in the void. It was the sage technique, calming mantra. Compared to Hui Xian, Chu Kuangren's calming mantra was much more exquisite. The murderous intent in Sha Xian's eyes dissipated, and his expression became peaceful again. Hui Xian could not help but sigh at that. He had been studying the calming mantra for so many years, yet he could not even compare to Sha Xian's half a day's worth of effort. Could he really be the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Hui Xian secretly guessed. However, now was not the time to discuss that. He quickly rushed to Sha Xian's side and helped him up. Sha Xian, are you all right? I'm fine. Sha Xian smiled bitterly. What exactly caused you to go berserk? I've been reading that booklet you gave me for the entire night. Those words were too profound, and I couldn't understand them. In the end, I realized that I've killed too many people over the years, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to attain enlightenment in this lifetime. When I thought of that, I couldn't accept it, and that's why I went berserk. At that, Shah Xian looked a little dejected. It was as if he had aged, and the domineering aura he had before was nowhere to be seen. You're just too stubborn. Once you put down your blade, you can become a Buddha. Hui Xian quickly comforted him. Shah Xian's expression kept changing, and he sighed. From tomorrow onwards, I'll resign from the Dharma Institute's first seat and go into closed-door meditation to gain enlightenment on Buddhist Dharma. Hopefully, I'll be able to dispel this evil aura within me. Although he said that, he still looked extremely dejected. He asked himself if he had done anything wrong. The people he had killed were people who deserved to be killed, so why did he have to suffer in the end? Could this be the Buddha's test? Idiot. At that moment, Chu Kuangren, who was beside him, shouted. Upon hearing that, everyone looked at him in confusion. I've never seen a cultivator as stupid as you. Chu Kuangren looked at Shah Xian and said indifferently. Shah Xian's expression darkened. What do you mean, Brother Chu? You haven't resolved the knot in your heart, yet you want to dispel your evil aura and prove your Buddhist core. That's destroying your own future. If that's not stupid, then what is? But if I don't do that, how can I attain enlightenment? Those people you've killed, do they deserve to die? They deserve to die, Shah Xian said coldly. If they deserve to die, then you're not at fault. Don't you think that you're at fault? Put down your blade, and you'll become a Buddha. You've put down the blade in your hand, but how can you put down the blade in your heart? Shah Xian's eyes were once again filled with struggle and confusion. As his expression changed, a murderous intent surfaced again. Hui Xian, who was beside him, was shocked. It can't be right? Did Chu Kuangren's words really drive Shah Xian into berserk again? Brother Chu, please teach me, what should I do? Shah Xian asked Chu Kuangren with his last shred of rationality. Chu Kuangren replied indifferently. I'll leave you with a sentence. Kill to protect, but not to kill. Chapter 254. Kill to protect, slay karma instead of slaying people. Shah Xian's expression changed as soon as he heard this. His mind buzzed as a sudden epiphany surged into his mind. Kill to protect, slay karma instead of slaying people. Shah Xian muttered a few times. He felt a sense of relief as if a huge boulder had been lifted from his shoulders. He could not help but let out a hearty laugh. Haha, what a great kill to protect, slay karma instead of slaying people. I've understood it now. I've understood it now. A powerful murderous intent erupted from his body, but it was extremely pure and without any evil intent. On the contrary, it resonated with the Buddhist light on his body, giving off a boundless and righteous feeling. Hui Xian was overjoyed, feeling happy for Shah Xian. You've finally proven your Buddhist core. Yes. Shah Xian nodded slightly before he walked up to Chu Kuangren and knelt before him with a loud thud. Shah Xian thanks Brother Chu for your guidance. The dignified Dharma Institute's chief, an honorable supreme, was kneeling before a junior. If word of this got out, many people would be shocked. At least the monk warriors at the scene were shocked. However, Chu Kuangren stood where he was and accepted the bow calmly. He said, You may rise. Shah Xian stood up and said solemnly, Brother Chu, I Shah Xian, will never forget your kindness. If you ever need my help in the future, as long as it doesn't harm the innocent, I'll do my best. You're too kind, Master. Chu Kuangren smiled. Deep down, however, he was grumbling. Don't give me empty promises if you have the guts. Give me tens of millions of top-tier soulstones to spend instead. If there's something I can't do, what can you do? Although that was what Chu Kuangren was thinking, he did not show it on his face. He was the Black Heaven sect leader after all. It would be embarrassing for him to ask for money. For the next few days, Chu Kuangren was treated like a VIP in the Thunder Temple. Every monk was extremely respectful towards him. In the eyes of the monks, Chu Kuangren had almost become a living Buddha, who was walking in the mortal realm after teaching Hui Xian and Sha Xian. Have you heard that Princess Linglong has been challenged? Tisk, who dares to challenge a young emperor? I heard that he's also a young emperor. Chu Kuangren had just finished his vegetarian meal when he heard a few monks conversing beside him. His heart skipped a beat, and he was a little surprised. Princess Linglong was challenged? Chu Kuangren frowned slightly. In the past year, Chu Kuangren had kept in touch with Princess Linglong. Sometimes, Princess Linglong would also stay at the Black Heaven sect for a short stay. She even said that it was to deepen the relationship between the Royal Azure Dynasty and the Black Heaven sect. He gradually developed a good impression of Princess Linglong. Although it might not be love, it was in the category of liking. Not to mention, the two of them had skin contact before. He was even her son-in-law. Now that he heard that she was being challenged, he couldn't help but worry. Master, do you want to visit the Royal Azure Dynasty? Lan Yu noticed Chu Kuangren's displeased expression. She knew Chu Kuangren very well, and could guess what he was thinking, so she suggested, let's go then. But before that, let's find out who's the one who challenged Linglong, Chu Kuangren said. It was not difficult to find out. Young emperors were the most outstanding sky prides in this world, and they were always the center of attention. Although not everyone knew about a young emperor challenging another young emperor, many forces were aware of it. He found Wu Yi and asked about it. The one who challenged Princess Linglong is Shang Han from the Scarlet Phoenix domain. The time and venue is tomorrow, in the Royal Azure Dynasty's palace. Wu Yi said. Shang Han, what a coincidence. A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes when he heard that name. Speaking of which, he had originally planned to visit the Scarlet Phoenix domain's Shang clan, after leaving the Thunder Temple. First, he wanted to find the White-Robed General's descendant. Since Shang Han had the Lu clan's ancient sword, he might be able to find some clues. Second, the other party had taken the Boundary Emperor weapon from the ancient Lu kingdom and released millions of tormented souls. It was time to put an end to this matter. Brother Chu, do you know this person? Heh, he's just a defeated opponent. Chu Kuangren chuckled. After learning what he needed to know, Chu Kuangren did not stay in the Thunder Temple any longer, and headed to the Royal Azure Dynasty with Lan Yu. Royal Azure Dynasty. Inside Princess Linglong's bedroom. Princess, you are going to duel with Shang Han tonight. You must beat him to a pulp, Wang Xian said. A servant girl was helping Princess Linglong change her clothes. Princess Linglong smiled and said, Shang Han is a young emperor, and he obtained the primordial emperor's essence earlier than me. His time spent on it is longer than mine, so it won't be easy to defeat him. Ah, is that guy really that powerful? The servant girl was a little surprised. Of course, and it looks like he came prepared. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for me to win this battle. Princess Linglong sighed. It would be great if the fiancé was here. With him around, that Shang Han wouldn't dare to show off, the servant girl said. Of course. At the mention of the fiancé, Princess Linglong had a proud look on her face. If the fiancé was here, let alone Shang Han, even if all the young emperors of the world were to gather, what would he have to fear? She had great confidence in Chu Kuangren. This confidence was not blind, but it was based on her understanding of Chu Kuangren. If he knows that I'm being challenged, will he be worried about me? Will he come looking for me? Princess Linglong suddenly had a sense of anticipation. After dressing herself up, Princess Linglong walked out of her bedroom and arrived at the palace's drill ground. Her fiery red robe made her look beautiful and noble. As soon as she appeared, everyone felt like the night had brightened up a little. On the drill ground, the Royal Azure Dynasty King, Gu Chang'e, and the others were all there. There was another person standing in the drill ground. That person was dressed in a long black robe and held a long black halberd in his hand. His expression was cold. However, when he saw Princess Linglong in her red robe, he was moved. However, Princess Linglong did not even look at him. She first went to the Royal Azure Dynasty King and bowed. My son, you must be careful in this battle. The Royal Azure Dynasty King said solemnly. This was a matter between the younger generation, a challenge between young emperors. Even as the king, it was not appropriate for him to intervene. Yes, father. Princess Linglong nodded. Then, she walked to Shang Han and a curved blade appeared in her hand. The blade glowed coldly and was carved with the image of a bright moon. It was the full moon blade that she obtained when she explored the luminous moon secret realm a few years ago. Actually, it was not entirely accurate to say that she obtained it. This blade was given to her by Chu Kuangren after they had sex. From then on, she carried this blade with her at all times, becoming her weapon. This was a holy artifact, worthy of her status. Make your move. Princess Linglong said calmly. I'll let you make the first move. Shang Han raised his halberd and said coldly. He looked at Princess Linglong with a mixture of hatred and possessiveness in his eyes. 4 years ago, you and Chu Kuangren have brought me humiliation. Today, I shall return it to you first. Once I've defeated you, I'll look for Chu Kuangren again to avenge my humiliation. Shang said coldly. Princess Linglong could not help but laugh. You think you're worthy of challenging the fiancé? You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot and overestimating yourself. Are you so sure that I can't defeat Chu Kuangren? The fiancé is as bright as the moon, and you're less than a firefly. Chapter 255. The prince consort is like the bright moon, but you are not even comparable to a firefly. Princess Linglong had nothing but praise for Chu Kuangren. As for Shang Han, she did her best to belittle him. These were her heartfelt words, and at the same time, she was disrupting Shang Han's Dao heart and creating openings. True enough. After hearing Princess Linglong's words, Shang Han's face turned extremely gloomy. The Taoist rhymes on his body exploded instantly, turning into a strong gale that swept across the area. The tiles under his feet were lifted up and sent flying in all directions. At this moment, Princess Linglong made her move. While Shang Han's Dao heart was still shaken, she swung the bright moon blade in her hand, and a silvery white blade gleam that looked like moonlight rolled out. The saber light was like a hot knife through butter, containing a powerful Taoist rhyme. Shang Han scoffed. Without using any weapons, he raised his hand and gathered his Taoist rhymes. He clenched his fist and threw a punch at the void. The two forces collided and set off layers of airwaves in the void. Shang Han was actually sent flying back several meters, and there was a rather surprised expression on his face. I didn't expect you to have such strength. Shang Han did not care about Princess Linglong at all. In his opinion, Princess Linglong only became a young empress because she was lucky enough to obtain the primordial emperor's essence. Compared to him, she was a far cry. However, only after exchanging blows today did he realize that his opponent's strength was actually not inferior to his own. After forcing Shang Han back with a single move, Princess Linglong did not hold back at all. She waved the bright moon saber in her hand, and rays of saber light gushed out one after another. The silvery white saber light instantly lit up the entire night sky. Shang Han snorted. Looks like I've underestimated you. As he flipped his palms, a terrifying surge of Taoist rhyme mixed with spiritual power erupted instantly, sweeping out like a storm. Mountain-crushing godly palm. With a palm strike, two completely different Taoist rhymes collided in the void. Shockwaves exploded, and the imperial guards in the palace were all shocked. This was a power that they could not resist. Is this the power of a young emperor? So powerful. I'm afraid he's no weaker than an utmost being. I didn't expect Linglong to have such strength. Gu Changde said in surprise. For the past few years, Princess Linglong had been keeping a low profile and rarely fought in front of outsiders. No one expected her strength to be this strong. Even Gu Changde was a little inferior to him. It is indeed rare. The royal Azure dynasty ruler smiled in relief. A few years ago, Princess Linglong could not even decide on her own marriage. Now she had grown to the point where she could take charge of her own affairs. Your strength has indeed exceeded my expectations, but unfortunately, you're destined to lose to me today. Shang Han let out a roar, and the Taoist aura and spiritual energy on his body burst forth. The palm strike turned into a formless storm, shattering all of the saber chi. Ling Long was also knocked back dozens of feet by this power. She suddenly took out an item. It was a black skull. The black skull was thrown out, and it expanded in the wind, turning into a huge skull phantom. Its body was surging with a gray death aura, and it faintly revealed the Taoist rhyme of a sage. This is made from the bones of saints. Shang Han said in surprise. Not bad. Let me experience the might of this blacklight skeleton. Princess Linglong said plainly. She controlled the skull made of black light to tear at Shang Han, and wherever it went, a chilly wind swept through. She obtained this skull in the luminous moon secret realm. It was made from the skull that she took with her after the death of the blacklight sage. The blacklight skeleton was surging with an unsettling death aura. Shang Han did not dare to fight it head-on, and could only avoid it for the time being. He came before the halberd and held it in his hand. At that moment, an unparalleled Taoist rhyme erupted from the halberd. Soaring waterfall technique. Shang Han shouted. An extremely domineering force erupted. A black light shot out from the halberd and landed on the black skull. In an instant, it pierced through the skull. The Taoist rhyme on the skull was broken, and it fell to the ground. Princess Linglong felt the backlash, and her face turned pale. She looked at the halberd in Shang Han's hand and said in disbelief, "What kind of weapon is this? How can it shatter a sage's skull so easily?" One should know that the body of a sage was indestructible, and it was difficult for cultivators below the sage level to break it. Even the blacklight sage's skull took Princess Linglong almost a year to refine into this blacklight skeleton. Princess Linglong, you should feel honored. Ever since the Heaven's Halberd was reborn, you're the first person to be defeated by it. Shang Han held the halberd in his hand, and his aura was unstoppable. The Heaven's Halberd erupted with a terrifying Taoist rhyme that merged with his body, increasing his strength by more than 10 times. Everyone at the scene was shocked. Even the royal Azure Dynasty king was filled with fear. What is this halberd? Even a sage ruler weapon can't increase a cultivator's combat strength to this level. This is a Boundary Emperor weapon. The royal Azure Dynasty king said in shock. A Boundary Emperor weapon was too rare. Even if one searched the entire royal Azure Dynasty, one would not be able to find a single Boundary Emperor weapon. No wonder you said that you'll defeat the fiancé. It's because you have this halberd. Princess Linglong finally understood. Even Chu Kuangren would be defeated by the Heaven's Halberd. Princess Linglong, just watch as I defeat him and trample him beneath my feet. Shang Han laughed out loud. With the Boundary Emperor weapon in hand, his confidence was at an all-time high. I've said it before. The fiancé is as bright as the moon, and you're not even comparable to a firefly. Do you think you can defeat the fiancé just because you have a weapon? I'll say it again, you're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You've overestimated yourself. Princess Linglong, angering me won't do you any good, Shang Han said with a gloomy expression. I'm just speaking the truth. You're courting death. Seeing how Princess Linglong was so protective of Chu Kuangren, Shang Han's jealousy towards Chu Kuangren reached its peak. His heart was filled with anger, and he had to vent it out. Holding the Heaven's Halberd in his hand, he swung it towards Princess Linglong. A majestic Taoist rhyme erupted. Princess Linglong could not withstand the force, and was sent flying for hundreds of meters. She spat out a mouthful of blood, her face turned pale, and her aura became extremely weak. Enough! The royal Azure Dynasty ruler roared. Let's end this battle here. We've lost. Upon hearing that, Shang Han stood still with his halberd in hand. He looked at Princess Linglong and said, "Since the princess hasn't admitted defeat, this battle isn't over yet." The royal Azure Dynasty ruler looked at Princess Linglong, only to hear her say firmly, "I can lose, but I won't admit defeat to you." She had already regarded herself as Chu Kuangren's woman, so there was no way she would admit defeat to someone who insulted Chu Kuangren. "My son, don't be impulsive." The royal Azure Dynasty ruler quickly tried to dissuade Princess Linglong. However, she remained stubborn. Very well. Let's see how tough your bones can be." Shang Han was so angry that he laughed and was about to attack again. Be ****, if you dare touch her, I'll bury your entire clan. At that moment, an extremely cold voice suddenly resounded above the crowd. The crowd looked over and saw two people walking through the air towards them. One of them was dressed in a white robe with a beautiful ancient sword hanging from his waist. It was as if he was walking on moonlight. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.